spice up your life.
Good morning. Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto has told off his critics again by asserting that he knows what he's doing. Speaking on Thursday in Garissa County as his tour of the northeastern region wound down, Ruto defended his administration, saying most of his critics have little or no education.
Na mkiona wale wanalalamika ni watu sijui wamesomea wapi. Si mimi niko na PhD. Si mimi naelewa nini naelewa Kenya. Sasa mimi napata watu wengine wako na elimu kidogo wanajaribu kunifundisha. Mnanifundisha kazi gani?
President Ruto, who spoke during a livestock vaccination drive, urged local farmers to participate in the countrywide exercise.
Wewe unaenda kumsikiza mtu ya kupanda ndengu, ati anakuambia usichanje ng'ombe yako. Yeye hana ng'ombe. Wewe utafuata hiyo maneno ya mtu ya? Na wewe umekuwa ukichanja ng'ombe yako miaka hii yote. Alafu mtu akuja hapa na Kiingereza na Kiswahili kingine akwambia ati usichanje ng'ombe yako. Ati kuna mtu mwingine sijui anaitwa Bill Gates sijui nani. Bill Gates ako wapi hapa Garissa? Kuna Bill Gates hapa Garissa? Si hii ng'ombe ni ng'ombe yetu? Si hawa madaktari ni madaktari wetu? Si hii dawa tumetoa hapa Kabete? Sasa Bill Gates anaingilia wapi hapa ndani? Hiyo ni mambo ya upumbavu na wakwende kabisa.
The Kenya Bureau of Standards and the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority have reassured the public of the quality of petroleum fuels available in the country. It follows reports and videos on social media questioning the standard of fuel being sold at various retail stations. In a joint statement, KABS and IPRA emphasized that all imported petroleum fuels undergo rigorous testing and certification before entering the Kenyan market. The regulators urge the public to remain confident in the fuel quality available in the market. The family of Brian Odhiambo, who allegedly went missing last month from the Lake Nakuru National Park at the hands of Kenya Wildlife Service officers, is in distress. This after the High Court in Nakuru dismissed a case over his disappearance. Justice Julius Nangea ruled that there was no proof that Odhiambo was in the custody of KWS officers when he went missing. Justice Nangea declined to issue further orders in the case, where the court had ordered the KWS and the DCI to produce Odhiambo dead or alive. Meanwhile, activists led by Hussein Khalid and Odhiambo's mother have continued to demand for his unconditional release.
I want my son back to me. Wanilete mtoto wangu alive or dead, hata kama amevunjwa wanilete.
Ni uchungu mkubwa kwa mke wake, kwa mamake, mke wake, watoto kila siku wanamuuliza baba yuko wapi? Haya ni mambo ambayo hayafai kuwa yanafanyika katika nchi hii. La wazi na la sawa ambalo kila mtu anajua ni kwamba hawa maafisa wa KWS ndio walikuwa na yeye mwisho, na wanajua mahali huyu kijana alipo au mwili wake. Kwa nini tunacheza mchezo wa paka na panya kudanganyana hivi na hivi?
Over 50,000 cases out of 61,269 filed at small claims courts since 2021 have been resolved, the judiciary has said. In a media engagement communique by spokesperson Paul Ndemo, the judiciary said it needs more funding to hire more staff for efficiency. Ndemo said the small claims court has solved cases valued at 9.2 billion shillings in the last 4 years. He said they were engaging Parliament for funding to enable them recruit adjudicators for the court and expressed optimism that the request will be considered favorably. A U.S. judge has temporarily halted President Donald Trump's plan offering incentives to federal workers to voluntarily resign before a Thursday midnight deadline. The federal judge said the plan would be paused until a hearing on Monday when he could determine the merits of a lawsuit filed by federal employee unions. The offer is part of an ongoing effort by the Trump administration to slash the size of the federal government. The White House says more than 40,000 employees have accepted the offer to resign in exchange for pay until the September 30th. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Latest news from around the world. .5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Judiciary is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Judiciary combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
There's something magical about finding the place you call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make.
Good morning and welcome to Friday. Taking a look at what's happening on the roads today. Not much happening just now. Traffic will probably heat up as we get into the day. A little bit of it as you come off of Uhuru Highway. Interesting enough, getting into the city, but it's going to phase off as you touch on Haile Selassie in just a little while. Thika Super Highway with some traffic as you approach Survey, coming in from Garden City, and before that, Githurai shouldn't be too much of an issue. Keeping an eye on all of this as we get into Friday properly, and we'll talk in the meantime on SpiceFM KE on X hashtag The Situation Room. Huh? Ow! Damn it! I've broken my leg. Hey, wait. Everything is upside down. Heh. I'm trying to center myself. Good morning, CT.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
I've hit my leg on the table and it's not fun.
And
Ouch.
You hit a part that...
it's very fleshy.
And tells you that you're in pain.
The fleshy part of my thigh. Where?
Right.
Where? It's
right.
Painful.
Don't worry, the pain will subside in due course.
It'll go away?
Subside.
Okay, it'll subside. Where? Lydiah, everything has gone off.
It's one of those days.
This machine has gone off. It is black. Can't see anything. Story. Okay. Welcome to Friday. How are you doing today? How was your Thursday afternoon?
Good.
Okay. What did you do Thursday afternoon, CT?
Not much.
Okay, so now you're doing that monosyllabic thing again today in the morning.
That is precisely what I am doing.
You don't want to give the girl stories?
If you want stories, say, City, tell me a story.
In fact, City, please tell me a story.
Happy story, oh.
Happy story, oh.
Right. Yesterday was hot and there was traffic. Man, I don't know where the traffic came from.
Mm-hmm.
The time I left here at some minutes past 2, 3. Man, the traffic on the roads.
Did a thing.
The Mombasa road was fine.
Yeah.
Then we got into that road leading to Nyeri. Suddenly wondered what on earth is happening. And then I saw what was happening. There was traffic.
Okay. There was traffic.
But it was a good day. It was hot. Not too hot. Just sufficiently hot. Yes.
I don't know why yesterday seems like a blur for me. But anyway, I mean, eventually we got through it.
Was there traffic in your neck of the woods?
Where I went, yeah, actually, so I was trying to make my way from Mombasa Road to Riverside, and yeah, there was a little bit of traffic, actually. It was an interesting, eventful afternoon. But here we are, and so c'est la vie, c'est bien. And getting into Friday, getting into the weekend. It's the 7th of February, and as we get into it, a number of conversations that we'll be having today. It is Friday, so dear Mr. President, a number of things that you would like to tell your president. It's interesting because yesterday, the president had a number of things to tell you, and we're going to do this off the jump with you folks this morning. Certain things that you want to get off your chest, certain things that you want to say, and that you hope that your president will be listening to you today. So dear Mr. President, we will have a word or two at 9 a.m. At 7 a.m. it is Healthy Friday. So we'll be looking at World Cancer Day, United by Unique. Dr. Manuel Hajj is a consultant medical oncologist at the Aga Khan University Hospital, and she'll be with us here at 7, and we'll be looking into that for a Healthy Friday conversation. And then at 8 o'clock we will have the conversation that we'll be looking forward to with Comfort Munoru Mwangi, who is a political commentator, and we'll be looking at the Kenyan diaspora in view of their country of birth. Those Kenyans who live outside of Kenya. What is it that they think? How is it that they take into consideration the situations happening within the boundaries of the country? And so we'll have that view, and we'll be able to all click into that. And then, like I said, we'll finally have a Dear Mr. President conversation as we go into 9 o'clock. All right, so those are the things that we'll be talking about today. Always good to have you in the room. And by way of that, how about we start saying hello to all of you who've already clicked into the room this morning, shall we? All right, a number of you here already. Bonnie Lake, Washington is where Joe Mungai is this morning, and says hello all. Kenya needs to have a meeting with herself. How much is the president spending on his visits? Okay, that's number one of the agenda, I would assume. Dr. Venvik is also tuned in this morning and saying, tune in from Tudor. Happy Friday, says Washira. Jeffrey Murerwa says, Polisana, good morning. Polisana for what? As in that it's morning, or what happened? Chamgay, my beautiful people, says Ann Gore, tuned in from chilly Nairobi. Yeah, today is a bit chilly in Nairobi. Yes, it is. Mark Ndu and the most wise man, CT, good morning. To know Apenda, because of you, I don't envy Fridays. Oh, I agree. Don't worry, it'll go quickly. Philip says, good morning, guys. Tuning in from Mombasa, Majaoni. Colchester, UK is where Ramtula Omar is tuned in from today. Good morning, friends. We love you here in Embu Town, says Daniel Juguna Kamau. Always good to have you here. Douglas Kibogong says, parents are nowadays, they've become lazy because of capitation. Imagine a parent buys a student a phone worth 15,000 but doesn't clear school fees worth 8,900. So we are told. Such things happen. Tibbs Muga says, good morning. SpiceFM, US is going to into audit mode. Can our leader start the auditing? Open the servers, you say. Alan Baru says, good morning and hello to everybody. And many conversations going on at the same time. Yes, we know, like the chatter around the US and the, conversations around the freezing, it still continues to be a big thing. All right, seeing all of you, so many of your comments coming in this morning. Karibuni sana, and we continue engaging with you as we get into it. So now, CT, for the last time this week, we're taking Proverbs from Djibouti.
Yes, we are. Yeah, for the last time this week, we depart from Djibouti. And when we leave Djibouti, we will be going to West Africa.
Yay!
Yes. Okay. We do not kill a dog because of its barking.
You may kill it for something else.
Why do you want to kill it in the first place?
Well, maybe it's rabid and it bit you.
And how often does that happen?
Well, not really often. But yeah, essentially the thing that it does every day is not the thing that you would want to get rid of it for.
On the greater balance of things, why do you keep a dog in the first place?
Companionship, security, all kinds of things.
Blah. Exactly. And then, why do you turn violent on the dog to the point where killing becomes a subject?
Because the barking could be noisy and annoying.
So you should kill it.
Well, I mean, that's what to shut it up permanently. But you don't do that because you know that
when a cock crows every day annoyingly at a certain hour in the morning, do you look for something to kill it with?
Or you would imagine that it would become soup for dinner.
Because it is growing?
Because it's growing. No, the thing that is natural to it, you're not going to kill it for it. Essentially, you're not going to get rid of it because of the thing that it does. Abi? Let's ask Mark.
Yes, ask me. Ask me.
Good morning, Mark. First
Good morning, how are you?
Very well. How are you doing yourself?
I am really respecting you guys by the minute.
Say that again.
I'm respecting you guys by the minute.
Pourquoi? Pourquoi?
This job is hard.
Pourquoi in English is?
Pourquoi is why.
Why?
Oh, why? Why pourquoi?
Pourquoi of what? For what, essentially, is what it means directly. You don't kill a dog because of its barking.
Of course not. You look for its master.
And kill the master.
And deal with the master. Because the indiscipline of the dog is quite evident. It's evidentiary of the master's own carelessness.
But a bark has different reasons. There's a different reason. There are different reasons why a dog barks.
If a dog keeps
why are
barking,
you saying that a barking dog has some element of indiscipline?
Yes. Okay. So in the United States, for example,
is it not their job?
Yeah.
No. In the United States,
one of the things they do.
In the United States, for example, if your dog keeps barking at every car and every bicycle and everything that is passing on the street, you will be cited for violating the law, simply because the dog must always be in the handle of its owner.
Okay, sour. But you know that's what they're supposed to do, right?
Well, they're supposed to do it at the right time.
No.
Okay. Let's think practically, right? Dogs came from wolves, right?
Oh God, here we go. These evolutionary things.
Dogs came from wolves.
Okay.
Right? We bred them from wolves.
Wolves were domesticated.
Yes.
Essentially,
and there's
then
evidence
there was
that this is what happened.
Yes.
Well,
yes, there is.
Dogs were not just a species
on their own.
Yes, just like there's things called fox.
Yeah, I think dogs went into the ark.
Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. So when we domesticated them, we must also look at how their wild relatives behave, right? Now, when you're going to hunt, you don't want your dog barking all the time, telling the deer or the hare that you're hunting, hey, here we are, we're coming to get you. That's not how it works, right? So you need a dog to bark at the right time. You don't want it barking at your neighbor every time he's going to park the car, right? So my view, and the view of many an intellectual, is a dog should bark when it is necessary. So for example, when someone jumps a fence and is threatening, then it barks, not when the person is passing by.
Okay. I mean, the proverb talks about the killing of a dog.
Yeah.
So then what do you do with the dogs that chase cars?
Deal with the owners.
Sour, mercy.
Oh, but they never run over a dog. They may seem small, but nowadays, cars, the plastic in your car will suffer more.
Okay, so shall we look into the headlines at this point before this conversation backs itself? So that was a proverb. You can't teach me is what's on the front page of the Standard today. There's a picture of President William Ruto addressing a crowd during his stopover on his tour of Wajir Wednesday. And the learned opinion is, being a scientist with a PhD to boot, President William Ruto has told off critics of the livestock vaccine program that on the matter, he knows more than they do, so they should shut up. After all, the president has a Bachelor of Science in Botany and Zoology from the University of Nairobi in 1990. He's got a Master of Science in Plant Ecology, again from the University of Nairobi, 2011, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Plant Ecology, University of Nairobi, 2018. So all these things that you people are criticizing him about, he knows them like the back of his hand. So you can't teach me. That's the headline on the Standard. Other headlines: bar chalk in the soup over missing county funds.
What's
laughing at you?
About chalk in soup.
Yeah.
That one I liked. And imagine there's this soup. Yes, and the gentleman has sort of like immersed himself in that soup. Right.
Kenya eyes new IMF program. Oh, for goodness sake. Somalia first horsewoman turns heads. Now, just in case you're wondering, this is a sport of the equestrian nature and nothing else, okay? Lack of political will to blame for DRC war, says Uhuru. Retired president says resolving the eastern DRC crisis hinges on coordinated efforts between Congo and Rwanda, adding that Nairobi and Luanda peace processes offer the best path to stability. Why finding Odhiambo is a tall order? Remember the gentleman who had gone missing? Nakuru?
Yeah.
The court ruled just the other day that... the KWS doesn't have any case to answer. So, not the other day, actually, it was yesterday in Nakuru, that KWS doesn't have any case to answer in terms of his whereabouts. And that was really devastating for his mother and his wife.
Why did they say there was no case to answer?
Well, they said that, it couldn't be proven that they had any knowledge as to his whereabouts.
Okay.
So
evidence-based.
Yeah.
You brought the case, but insufficient evidence and all that.
Yeah, we can't prove one way or another that they know where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Trump continues with his shocking outbursts. We'll look at some of those that keeps the world moving. And what you have on the nation, Mark?
Well, there's more about the Aga Khan, 1936 to 2025. Definitely a great man who has a lot to be said about him. On page 2, they talk about how he believed media was a catalyst for development. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are catalyzing development as we sit here. Abi?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, good. Right. Secret keepers of Ruto and Kenyatta and Moi empires revealed they are reclusive, and the job descriptions require them to remain discreet in both their professional and personal life, lest they attract attention to their employers' affairs. And yet they hold the keys to investment vehicles with assets and cash worth billions for some of East Africa's wealthiest and most politically influential families, along with business as well as domestic secrets that keep the multi-billion shilling empires revving. Meet the trusted confidants of Kenya's foremost political families on page that one. 16 billion looted through ghost workers in counties. Audit says 16 billion. Do you know how many parastatals that is? About 40 parastatals can run on that budget for a whole year. Yes, ghost workers. Court outlaws police chief's ban on protests. Yes, I think for the 18th time. Now, very interestingly, on page 12, the U.S. firm set to raise 129 billion locally for Mombasa Expressway. Now, there's something called the Usahihi Expressway, 440 kilometers from Nairobi to Mombasa. We're good?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was given to a U.S. firm. Okay, Everstrong Capital. Now, Everstrong Capital needed to raise $1 billion, which it is not raising in the United States. It is raising locally. Yes, go figure.
So we're going to be paying for using this road, aren't we?
Yes, now.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why state-backed online jobs project for youth isn't paying off? Challenges facing the Ajira program include some of the centers do not exist on the ground. Centers in chiefs camps and police stations have low enrollment as youth keep off. Some of the centers did not offer courses that were responsive to the market needs. Some of the graduates reported cases of favoritism in some regions. The centers were used as political tools with management controlled by local MPs or their affiliates, and significant disparity in access between rural and urban areas, with urban residents benefiting disproportionately. Yes. And if you want to know those names, can I mention the names of the secret keepers? Mm-hmm. For the Kenyattas, there's John Stuart Armitage, Jacob Ogechi Ombongi, and Jacqueline Mumbi Hinga. I have no idea who those are. And for the Mois, you've got Joshua Yator Keretz, Mukesh Jamnadas Gohil, Zambuni Shaun Alun, and Milson Chepkurui Ngetich. For the Odingas, we have Israel Otieno Wasonga Agina, Gladys Jeruto Biama, Solomon Okello Awino, John Tolo Otega. Then for the Rutos, we have Tela Alusala, Lina Cantaria, and Charles Victor Orodi. Yes.
Okay.
Rings no bells whatsoever.
Good. Business Daily. Top right-hand corner. There are two issues. There's boss talk by somebody called Sheila Wairimu. And then there's a quotation from a journalist by the name of Jaindi Kisero. Payments of mining royalties remain a big policy issue of concern. How much do we get from the multinationals? I should have asked, do we get anything? And if we do, how much? That is what I would have asked. Okay? Bank posts 222 billion pre-tax profits. Let me start that again. Banks post 262 billion pre-tax profits on expensive loans.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Commercial banks set a new record pre-tax profit meaning money they made, of 262.3 billion in 2024, buoyed by high lending rates and income from government securities, new disclosures by CBK show. You know, whatever we say, so many things work in this country. This information that we now have. Hey. And from who? CBK.
Yay.
So that an exclusive. CBK, that's what telling you this was happening. Safaricom, Ethiopia M-Pesa customers tripled to 10.8 million.
Wow, that was quick.
Speedy. Yes. Speedy. The number of M-Pesa customers in Safaricom's Ethiopia subsidiary have tripled from 3.1 million to 10.8 million in 12 months. 12. That is ending this of small firms. The number of small cap stocks in the Nairobi Securities Exchange with outsized price gains have gone up this year as speculative trading takes hold in the market. All right. The Aga Khan funeral set for Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Yep.
Okay. Guests including members of the Aga Khan family, leaders of the global Ismaili community, and the Aga Khan Development Network, international dignitaries, and officials of the Portuguese government and state authorities. This gentleman was staying in Portugal.
Yes, he was. He died in Lisbon.
Yes. He's still in Lisbon, still in Portugal.
It still is, yes.
Okay, very good. Housing levy defaulters face accounts PIN freezes.
You want to do that again?
Yes, I'm going to say that. Housing levy defaulters. Remember the housing levy?
Yes.
Something you're supposed to pay.
Yeah.
If you defaulting meaning you haven't paid. You're facing accounts PIN freezes. Which means those accounts of yours won't be working. Traders in the informal sector who fail to pay the monthly 1.5% housing levy risks having their bank accounts frozen and their PIN blocked in a new push to boost compliance. All right. You say so.
Nisawa.
It's going to boost compliance. Top right-hand corner in burnt brown.
Sorry.
It's burnt orange, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, please.
Okay. Now to say this one slowly.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying my own things here. Rigathi versus Kindiki.
I was going to say, who's Kindiki? Maybe somebody's made it out of the woodwork, but okay.
Okay. It's Rigathi versus Kindiki. And fresh battles for Mount Kenya.
Okay.
So there were battles before. And then in the Siasa columns as well, there's AU, win or lose, Raila win or lose will impact Kenyan politics. Okay? In the Siasa pages, there's also a pullout for lifestyle. You really lifestyle. Budget-friendly meals you can enjoy in Nairobi. Okay, if you're in Nairobi and you want to enjoy a meal and you have a budget, when you say budget, often means you are constrained. Twist as Uhuru's party backs Matiang'i. Okay. Why is it a twist?
Because it was unexpected.
By whom?
The people for who it's twisted.
This is a reporting. Twisted who? See, those who knew. Yes, and now they're informing us. If we had known before, and then suddenly there's a change, now we're informed. As far as I'm concerned, there's no twist. All right. Audit red flags. Okay. Audit red flags. 6 billion spent on Adani type deals. Some 6 billion the government borrowed to manage public-private partnership projects better may have gone down the drain. Okay. Something a little interesting. I'm looking at. We looked at Jaindi Kisero's whatever. Yes. When you look at the column. Yes, I'm looking at the column. And I'm looking at some of the things that are being said by people in the Star, in the pages where people write opinions. It's an interesting one. Foreign jobs and their significance for Kenya. There's a lady by the name of Fatma Barayan. The writer, I'm told, is a lawyer. She says, technology and skills transfer and establishment of foreign business networks are a very real benefit that can be brought about by employment in a foreign country. I thought this was interesting.
Oh, okay.
Because there's all this talk of, people are going abroad, we're exporting labor, and it ends there. So this perspective is interesting. Okay, exporting labor, yes, but there's a little more to the story than just exporting labor.
You'll tell us when we come back from this, isn't it?
Right.
So, today is Friday, so the Nairobian is out today. So let me tell you what those headlines are really quickly. Broken hearts, how stars lost over 400 million shillings to gold diggers. For many, the biggest battles are not fought on the track, but in their own homes. The stories of the female athletes are painful reminders of the dark side of fame. Where? Murder on the pulpit, deadly love triangle shatters church's sanctity. And shattered illusions, the hidden lives and struggles of your celebs. Interesting things happening here. No love lost. Court dissolves marriage of violent Nyali politician. And African football has the room for memorable feats come August. Those are some of the headlines in Nairobi. And today we'll come back and look at some of the other stories that are making the headlines this morning. It's 28 minutes to 7 o'clock. A quick break and we come back and look at those stories in more detail. Good morning.
There's something magical about finding the place you call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make life special. At DTB, we understand that a home is not just an address. It's the place where you build your life. With an interest rate as low as 9% and up to 105% financing, own your dream home with DTB. Apply for your home loan today via email on mortgages@dtbafrica.com, call us on 0110-708-297 or 0110-629-015 or visit any of our branches for more details. DTB. Bank with us. Bank on us.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Judiciary is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Judiciary combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi, and we'll see highs of 27 in a partly cloudy Nakuru at 13. It's 14 and cloudy in Nyeri, and at 11 mostly clear in Eldoret. Cloudy at 24 in Mombasa, while in Malindi at 25 it's cloudy. 20 and clear in Kisumu, with cloudy conditions at 16 in Kakamega. It's mostly clear at 19 in Kampala. We'll see highs in Dar es Salaam of 31, currently at 27 and cloudy. We're looking into a cloudy Johannesburg at 17, while into Mogadishu at 24 it's cloudy, and at 11 Addis Ababa is cloudy, going to highs of 25. It's 25 and clear in Lagos, and at 23 Kinshasa is cloudy this morning. -7 and sunny Beijing Friday afternoon, and at 4 degrees Paris is cloudy, with cloudy conditions at 4 in London. New York Thursday night is cloudy at 3. That'll be the high going into Friday, with lows of 2. Okay, looking into some more stories. In the Standard this morning, we've seen this one where the president has says, you can't teach me. On this one, I'm going to be the one that teaches you. And this story is on page 4 of the Standard. And so let me give you details about that, okay? And everybody had something to say about what the president said and whether he should have actually taken that position in terms of that. So we know that he's doing this tour of Northeastern. He appeared to stoke debate with his choice of words after he took a swipe at individuals he did not name opposing his government program, yet their education level does not match his. I mean, surely. Speaking in Garissa during his tour of the Northeastern region, Ruto, in response to running criticisms against his livestock vaccination program launched on the 30th of January, said understanding of the program cannot be challenged by lesser educated critics. Addressing hundreds of residents within Garissa town near the famous Mugdi market, Ruto said his government will pay for the vaccines to ensure livestock in the country are free of disease. He said diseases in livestock undermine the country's push to sell more beef in East Africa and international markets. There's a phrase here, it's in Kiswahili. Let me try. Tunakataa maua moja na mboga tunauza ng'ambo. Tukiuza nyama ng'ambo iko makosa. Tukiuza maziwa ng'ambo iko makosa. Sasa hawa watu wanatuletea Kiingereza kidogo kidogo, na mkiona wale wanalalimika sijui wamesoma wapi. Si mimi niko na PhD. Si mimi naelewa ni nini inaendelea Kenya. Sasa hii watu wa elimu kidogo kidogo wanajaribu kunifundisha. Mnanifundisha kazi gani? Can we take a moment for that Kiswahili? We sell flowers and vegetables abroad. Is it a problem when we sell meat abroad? When we sell milk abroad, is it a problem? Which schools did these people showing little knowledge go to? Don't I have a PhD? Don't I know what happens in Kenya? He asked pastoralists not to listen to people who he said do not understand issues around livestock rearing, trying to dissuade them from taking up the vaccination exercise. I have decided that as we invest in sugarcane, coffee and tea, the same way we will invest in livestock to ensure our meat and milk are good and our returns are better with a good market. Ama namna gani? It is good. Okay. No problem.
Kwa Kiswahili sanifu tungependa kuachia hayo katika alama za dukuduku.
I don't understand.
The 3 dots after a statement.
Ellipses.
Yes.
Okay.
That is dukuduku.
Ellipses is dukuduku.
I thought it was a species of a bird.
I thought it was an animal.
You think of Dick.
Yes.
Well, there are certain things for which the person speaking has said everything he needs to say and given himself every conclusion that needs to be concluded. So every conclusion and idea that you have in your head, that is correct.
It's okay. It's no problem.
Yeah, it's like a proverb.
Okay.
So let's talk about this Usahihi highway thing. Right? 129 billion to be collected locally.
Shillings.
1 billion.
120 billion shillings.
129
billion shillings.
Yes, 129,000 millions.
You are now going to go into the details of what this road is going to look like, aren't you?
Yes.
Good. Carry on.
So now, this road is supposed to be 444 kilometers long. Okay, that is important because it's supposed to make things faster between Nairobi and Mombasa. Now, this United States firm was awarded the contract to build this road and was expected to raise the funds. Okay, now it has decided to raise the funds locally through banks, retirement benefit schemes, and other such entities in Kenya. Everstrong is expected to start off construction in December. Okay, so
December which year?
This year.
Okay.
Right. The external and the balance 2.5 billion to be raised in the external market since the road has a total cost of 3.5 billion. So it's going to cost a total of 465.12 billion. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, the question becomes, when you give a company that comes from America work to do, how much of the money should come from America and how much should come from Kenya?
Let me answer by asking a different question. Is there anything that prohibits the company from
there's
raising
nothing.
money in Kenya?
None at all.
All right. So,
no.
Questions.
It's an economical question.
For the price of one.
Because,
what sort of road is this that we're talking about?
Well, it's an expressway, so essentially you're supposed to pay for it.
So is it a PPP?
It's difficult to say. The article does not say actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it's a PPP, essentially, we can then argue that if you're raising money locally and it's going to be a business venture, like the expressway that we see here, then people who invest in it will benefit from it at some point, won't we? And if they are locals, then the question would be, is there anything wrong with locals benefiting from such a program, such a scheme, such a plan, such a business?
True. But there's also this very simple question of how much capital injection from the native country do we want?
My question is, why do we need that injection from the native country? Because one of the bane of our existence seems to be we borrow in dollars.
Yes.
And unfortunately, our currency limps in comparison to the dollar. So all we require is a little turbulence in the Middle East, nothing to do with us. DRC hasn't even coughed, there's no Goma problem. And suddenly our shilling is not limping on one leg, it's limping even on the hand. Now, so whatever it is that was borrowed suddenly becomes very expensive.
It is.
So if borrowing is in shillings, then we know it's a shilling. So when you're paying back, you know it's a shilling. This yo-yo that foreign currency tends to play with our currency will have been eliminated.
Well, true. But the key question, again I ask, you see, there's a big part of our GDP, a third actually comes from construction. You're aware?
I am not aware, but now you've made me aware.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that is very important in how we handle is how we handle construction in our country. Much of the GDP growth we've seen in the last 20 odd years, by the way, has been due to the fact that we put a lot on our infrastructure, our roads and things like that. And Kenya has one of the most beautiful road infrastructures in East and Central Africa. We must commend ourselves for that. And one of the key things is getting foreign direct investments. Right, where you get these foreigners to actually invest in our infrastructure that works. So the reason why this is a topic of debate is not that you are wrong. We definitely, number one, and this is my point, that Kenya can raise its own money.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
If we could raise, we are basically raising around a quarter of what is needed, just slightly above a quarter. If we can raise a quarter to build a quarter of the way, why don't we raise the 4 quarters of ourselves, keep the profits for ourselves, keep the development knowledge for ourselves, keep our engineers employed ourselves, be able to transfer that technology to the Nairobi Kisumu expressway ourselves?
Isn't that the question, though?
Yes.
Because
just one more point. Do you know how much we hold in our retirement benefit schemes and such schemes across the country? Close to 1.5 trillion shillings. Trillion. So we have the capacity.
There's money. There is. It's just about reworking priorities, and that's the thing. Because when you say why don't we, it's not as though people don't know. It's just that the working of priorities needs to take place, and that's for sure. I mean, is it not the same country we are in where the control of budget says that 16 billion shillings is hiding somewhere, being paid out to ghost workers? And we know who they are. But do we choose to do something about it? No. When will you? Who knows? Yesterday was a busy day in the courts. A number of things happened, which, first of all, the High Court declares IG Kanja's protest ban unconstitutional. Says that you cannot ban protests, you cannot ban people wanting to come out and protest. So long as they've informed you of it, and so long as they're doing so in a peaceful manner, you don't have the right to ban that. So that was what they're calling a blow for the Inspector General of Police. Ruto's task force on health has also been ruled illegal by the High Court. The 20 people appointed by President William Ruto in July last year to investigate human resource issues in the health sector may have tried to resolve the tensions between the Ministry of Health, counties and doctors. However, the efforts of the Presidential Task Force on Health, led by Professor Kama Arogo, have proven futile, and taxpayers' money spent on their work has been deemed a waste. Wednesday, Justice Bahati Mwamuye ruled that the task force was illegally constituted, and despite submitting a report, the High Court found that their work cannot be used. So, isn't that lovely? That all the work that has been done, all the allowances that have been paid, essentially are going up in what? Smoke. Although Attorney General Dorcas Odur had pleaded for the orders to be suspended for at least 30 days, Justice Mwamuye stood firm, asserting that any product of an illegal entity is also unlawful. So even the report that came out after they did, preliminary work and the preliminary findings, even that cannot be used, because you know what? The whole thing in and of itself is illegal. Let me tell you also about the ban on protests that now has also been declared unconstitutional. The High Court has clipped the Inspector General of Police's powers to declare protests illegal at will and without justification. So last year, Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja banned protests within the Nairobi Central Business District. At the same time, he issued a directive that all protests must have leaders who ought to be held accountable in case of any destruction or harm. So now, if you're having a protest, you must tell us that this is joint effort of CT and Mark. We are the leaders.
Yes.
So that if anything goes south, we can come to you and ask you, why do we see that 15 buildings within the CBD, they don't have windows because they've been, whatever.
Can I ask a question there?
Wait, I'll tell you, just 1 minute. However, Justice Bahati Mwamuye ruled that Kanja's directive was unconstitutional. He also quashed the decisions as blanket. What's your question?
My question is very simple. Are demonstrations organizations?
A demonstration in and of itself is an organization of people going to places.
It does not have a chairman, a secretary, CEO. So how can you hold people accountable?
Organization being the verb here, that people have been organized to come together.
The leadership?
Actually, you can.
How?
You see, the moment people go out to protest, there's an issue on which they're protesting. And even if by some magical process they have all come to the same understanding and they've all telepathically informed each other that they should be in the same place at the same time, yes, they have formed a group that is doing something. Yes, it doesn't matter how they did it, but they are a group and they are organized because they've agreed on the pain point and they've decided they are going to do the same thing about the pain point.
Organizing has taken place.
You do realize that typically demonstration in Kenya is not an organization, it's a mob.
No. Listen, you're talking about organization as an entity.
No, I'm talking about organization in terms of there being a particular hierarchy within which things are done. That is not the nature.
Oh, no. No.
In the protest that we saw that took place from June until whenever, there was definitely organization. That people said, let's come out and this is the manner in which it will happen and this is what we shall do. This is where we shall go. Organization took place. It did.
Okay.
So now what Kanja was saying was that, you know what, in the future, if you're going to write a letter to us and tell us that we're going to have a protest in the city or whatever, tell us who your point person is. And if there's any kind of destruction, so we can hold that person liable.
But that's exactly why the courts ruled it as unconstitutional.
Everything that he said was blanket. He says that you cannot force people to. What the court was saying is that you cannot, number one, force people to tell you who their leader is if there is one. Number two, you cannot now say that demonstrations in the city are in the CBD are illegal, and why not anywhere else?
You see, back to my point, okay? If today I say all those people who believe that the people of the Abatura tribe among the Luya needs to be helped to preserve the language, right?
There's such a group of people.
Yes.
Abatura.
Yes.
Where have they been all this time? Okay, please go on.
In their parents' loins. So, while they're in their parents' loins, they decide that, you know what, they're going to demonstrate in Nairobi. And then the neighboring Bukusu decide to join them. Right? So then you decide you're going to say that if someone's tomato was stepped on during the demonstration, the guy who tweeted the Abatura must come into Nairobi to demonstrate is the guy to be held accountable. That is impossible because the law envisions personal responsibility. So let me give you a small legal philosophy lesson.
No,
so,
hold on. Before you do that, no. Hold on. What Kanja said was not that when it happens. They say that before you come out and demonstrate, tell us who your leader is.
Yeah, but it says so that if something goes wrong, you'll be held accountable. That's not how it works. If you're the CEO of a company and one of your staff in the execution of their duties slaps someone, you will not be charged with aggravated assault. Right? The law expects that the person who does the crime does the time. So you cannot say that the people who lead a demonstration should therefore be responsible unless they themselves ordered for illegal activities to happen. So it is literally unconstitutional and unreasonable to expect that the person who's leading a demonstration is personally liable, legally or otherwise to the actions of people who hold ID cards, sane minds, and decide to do what they want. If you do that, it is unconstitutional and it is also removing people's right.
So before you burst the vein,
thank you.
This is exactly what the court said yesterday. So calm down.
Yeah.
That essentially,
I am schooling city.
Essentially, this is exactly what the court said yesterday. That it is unconstitutional.
Yes.
But what we're saying here is that there was organization that took place, and based on that organization is what IG Kanja was saying. Since you have found a way to organize yourselves anyway, tell us who the person is who's doing this organization. So that you can hold them liable if something happens.
Exactly. Yes. That's my point. You can't because it is not.
It's okay. That's what the court has said. That's what the court has said. That is unconstitutional, right? CT, your story.
You know, we know our laws and we understand them by those who break them or by those who go against the dictates of those laws. So this is yet another example of us getting to understand our laws better, okay? And understand the powers of the IG. You can't fault the IG for trying. You know, this job of looking after protesters is a hard one. It is better solved and tell them, if I dare see you here. Yes, because now there's no protest. See, the city is a nice place to go to.
Okay. I don't know about that, but okay.
You know, the gist of the story that I was telling you about foreign jobs and the significance to Kenya, okay? You want to ask yourself a simple question. Do we have an honest conversation about some of these things, or is it that what we hear being said and what we read having been written, just the thoughts and apprehensions that people have about something? If you were to look at remittances from other countries around the world and the significant role that those remittances play in their country, it would be amazing. So if there is a plan, and it's a clear plan, and the plan involves protecting these individuals either through insurance or ring fencing it, so that, as the PS for Diaspora explained to us here on many occasions, it is something that must be sought. It is something that we must look forward to, because it is something that solves many problems. It solves the problem of employment for those who need the job, and it also gives us much needed foreign exchange. I'm putting it very simply. Forget the complications. Tourism brings us foreign exchange.
It does.
People who work abroad bring us foreign exchange. People who export goods get foreign exchange. So, if it means we have to export labor, the only thing I add here is ring fence it so that those who are going abroad are safe, and we are guaranteed, barring an act of nature, they will come back with that same safety to their homes. It is not a thing to be frowned on.
It isn't. So that money comes in, and sadly, at some levels, that money goes out. Let me tell you another story. Bachok, you know who Bachok is? Right?
Governor of Bomet.
Well done.
Yes.
He's the governor of Bomet County, and he's a man under siege, what we're being told. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission investigating suspected theft of public funds to the tune of 1.4 billion shillings. Bachok was arrested by EACC officers in Bomet before being escorted to the South Rift regional offices in Nakuru. In a statement, EACC's CEO Abdi Mohammed said the commission conducted a successful operation targeting the governor, 8 senior county officials, and 2 contractors under investigation for conflict of interest and the fraudulent payment of 1.4 billion shillings to suppliers and contractors who are senior employees of the Bomet County government. Isn't this lovely? The payments, according to the commission, were made for works and services not rendered. So gone are the days where you actually paid for, work that you did.
Yes.
In this case, now you pay yourselves for work that you did not do.
You just imagine it.
And you say, okay, I imagine that I could build a road. Pay me.
Yeah.
Somebody pays you. Okay, CT, what have you imagined today that you could do? Tell me anything.
Imagine.
But just imagine.
You ask me to do something very difficult this early in the morning.
Yeah, but you imagine you could get paid for it.
A billion. 1,000 millions.
Shillings.
Yeah.
Now, see, you guys are making my life difficult. Why don't you say something like 100,000, which I can understand?
Okay, let's do 100,000 every day for the next 10 days. Let's make it like that.
Something which I can do.
But yes, just you don't even have to do it.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And then I get it every day.
Yeah.
I just stay at home and do nothing.
But for that, you can even say thinking about work.
Yes.
We can pay you for it. The payment,
manifesting.
Yeah, you can manifest stuff to do in the county. The payments, according to the commission, were made for works and services not rendered. You see, you can think and even get paid. The operation, which was undertaken in various premises linked to the suspects in Nairobi and Bomet counties under court orders, yielded crucial evidentiary material that will aid in the finalization of the ongoing investigations, according to Mohammed. So, Bachok's arrest comes at a time Auditor General had flagged irregularities in the expenditure of public funds in 2022-2023 financial year audit. Among the issues questioned in the audit was the irregular procurement of road maintenance machinery. Okay. The county government at the time of the audit is reported to have incurred 141,547,000 for the supply of 5 crawler dozers. Ooh, sounds nice. 5 graders or land levelers and 1 motorized roller. However, the procurement of the equipment was outside of the County Integrated Development Plan, the CIDP, and the Annual Development Plan, approved budget, and approved consolidated annual procurement plan for the year under review. So that's why they do all of these things at the beginning of the term, isn't it? So when people go to the swanky hotels, these are the things that they're planning. So now Auditor General says, how did you now procure these things which were outside of the ADP and outside of the CIDP to the tune of this 1.4 billion. So it would be interesting to see how far this investigation is carried and if people actually, beyond just explaining, either return the money or pay for it. So when we say there's no money, folks, that's why it really irks me when we say there's no money, because clearly there is, because people are stealing it, and it could actually do something in terms of development in the country. So those are some of the stories that we're looking at. Coming into 7 o'clock, we will have our Friday, Healthy Friday conversation, and we will be looking at issues around cancer and we'll do that with you shortly. So just looking through some of those stories, I mean, of course, we always have an opportunity to share with you and do those with you. Don't forget that we will have a session of Dear Mr. President at 9 o'clock today, and as we do that, getting to some of the things that you would like to remind your president about. He had some things to say to you yesterday, and we'll look into more of those as we go along. Getting into it. Good morning. It is now 7 a.m.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The Senate has warned that a new revenue sharing proposal by the Commission on Revenue Allocation will see 31 counties lose over 10 billion shillings as their share of revenue will be slashed in favor of marginalized counties. Despite the Commission seeking an extra 30 billion shillings under the fourth system that comes into force next year, the Senate vowed to shoot down the proposal, terming it defective. This came after the Commission said there would be a 12 billion shilling stabilization fund to cushion counties affected by the new system. The new system will see 7 counties, mainly in northern Kenya, benefit from an extra 7 billion shillings. This emerged at the end of a 3-day mid-term assessment retreat for the senators in Naivasha, in which the senators agreed that no county should lose in revenue allocation. President William Ruto is today expected to officially open the 3-day Nyanza International Investment Conference that kicked off on Thursday. The conference has brought together more than 600 delegates and dignitaries from various sectors to explore and shape the future of the region's economic prosperity. Speaking to journalists on Thursday, the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Industry, Dr. Juma Mukwana, urged investors to tap into the region's manufacturing sector. Dr. Mukwana said Nyanza's contribution to Kenya's manufacturing sector is not commensurate to its great potential.
The region is only contributing 6% to manufacturing. If you compare that, for example, with Kiambu at 9%, or you compare that to Machakos at 5%, and Kilifi, and that kind of, the potential here has not been properly utilized. One of the areas that we also want to encourage people is private sector investment, because when you talk about manufacturing, the people of this region tend to think that manufacturing is for government. Government does not exist to set up industry. But we exist to set up good policies, to be good referees, to support private people that want to invest.
A number of delegates attending the conference, including the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Office of the President, Eliud Owalo, emphasized the significance of the conference.
We want to facilitate, in partnership with the private sector, the establishment and operationalization of fish processing factories as a major intervention in the fish value chain.
It looks really wonderful to see a lot of people from different parts of the world coming to venture their projects and showcase, and we are there as well to show what we have to offer from Dubai.
Kisumu has been selected as the host city for the World Talent Federation Conference in 2026, making history as the first intermediary city in Africa to do so in 5 decades. The announcement was made on Thursday during the ongoing Nyanza International Investment Conference in Kisumu. Delivering a keynote address at the conference, World Talent Federation Secretary General Professor Humphrey Obora confirmed that the event will be held in a collaboration with the Lake Region Economic Bloc. Professor Obora said the gathering will attract a diverse group of global delegates from sectors such as sports, entertainment and media. He added that the event will provide a platform for researchers to showcase groundbreaking innovations and products that support talent assessments and talent-driven education. A Ugandan rugby player who claimed asylum in the UK has been jailed for 4.5 years after raping a woman in Cardiff. Cardiff Crown Court heard how Philip Parillo, aged 32, became close friends with a woman involved before he attacked her in a flat in the city in June 2021. Parillo had repeatedly denied raping the woman but was found guilty of the offence in December 2024. He had represented his country in rugby sevens in the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow before disappearing. In a letter addressed to the judge, he said he was genuinely sorry to those who suffered from his actions. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamir.
SpiceFM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
It's 5
done
minutes
right.
after 7 o'clock on the 7th day of February, and we're getting into the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. Always good to have you in the room, and even as we do, Ndru, CT and Mark with you today as we get into the Situation Room's Healthy Friday conversation. But even as we do, guess what I'm having a cup of this morning? I'm having a cup of the pear caramel yogurt from Delamere. And it's my breakfast one-stop to-go thing. And it's getting it right on the button, right on the money for what I've had this morning. So it's breakfast on the go for me. It could be your post-workout snack. It could be stuck in traffic, and that's what you do. But imagine this yogurt with real fruit, whether you're having the strawberry, it's real vanilla pods, it's lemon and biscuit, it's choco chips, it's anything that you could really think of. Breakfast on the go, a stop after your workout, or sitting in traffic and something to go with. It's real fruit in yogurt, and you can get that at many outlets around the country, and that's Delamere with real everything, and it's premium. Don't jealous me. But what you can tell me about CT is how I can have a mortgage where I can have my yogurt in my own home.
Okay. You see, when you talk mortgage, you're talking house, you're talking structure. Okay, and if you're talking structure, for most people, it is something that you dream about, something in the future. Now, Diamond Trust Bank are saying, look, this future thing is all good and well, but can we bring this thing a little closer to you? So something you can relate to today going forward. And they're saying, look, if you visit any Diamond Trust outlet, if you email mortgages@dtbafrica.com, there'll be a lot of information. Now, let me tell you about this information that you will get. You will be told the following. One, you are able to procure a mortgage whether you are employed, whether you are in business, whether you are in the diaspora. Let's start with the diaspora. If you're in the diaspora, you can be afforded a mortgage of up to 80% of the value of the property that you wish. Of course, pegged to whatever it is that you're earning. Remember, your earning determines what it is you can borrow.
Yeah.
Because it determines what you can pay. If you are in business or you are employed, ETB is saying, look, we can give you up to 105% mortgage. Mortgage, yes, 105%.
Really pretty.
No, that is pretty pink and smiling at you. And they're also saying this, that we don't have any hidden charges. We're not going to suddenly spring and hit you on the head with something that you hadn't anticipated. And if you choose to pay early, we're also not going to penalize you for paying early.
I love this kind of thing.
Yes. Just give it thought. Take a deep breath. And you may ask, but surely, does that not sound a little too good? No, it doesn't. DTB has partnered with Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. And because of that, they're able to offer you this loan. If it's for 10 years, this mortgage will only be charged 9%. If you take it for 25 years, you'll be charged 9.75%.
But it's fixed. It's not going to do somersaults and go crazy.
9.75. It's not 9.76 tomorrow.
Okay.
It remains that way. Fixed meaning doesn't move. Come shine or rain.
Thank you so much for making my morning.
mortgages at dtbafrica.com.
Fantastic. And also getting into the place where we can talk about, the 1 million people who enter into the job market every year. What's good for them?
Well, since we're not taking away sunshine, let's bring sunshine.
Okay.
Now, KCB since 2016 has been bringing sunshine.
Okay.
And it has brought sunshine.
At some point, we'll learn how to speak on this show.
150,000 people have gotten jobs because of this sunshine. And youth trained have been 35,195. Businesses incubated have been 10,000, and 267 million loans to support their enterprises. If you assume each loan was just 10,000 shillings CT, we shall learn to speak. It shall be 2.67 billion shillings given out. If it's just if it's just 10 shillings, oh my goodness, imagine if so this is a serious amount of money that has been given out, and all you need to do is look out for when the window opened. Yesterday we were told they'll be ready sometime later this month. You go on to KCB Group /foundation and join the how many 35,000 other people who've been trained and have become successful through what KCB has done.
Fantastic. I mean, it's a lot of things happening, and it's really great to always see that, folks at one point or another can get the much needed leg up that they need. It is our Healthy Friday conversation, and our guest is already seated in the hot seat. Dr. Manel Haj is a consultant medical oncologist at the Aga Khan University Hospital, and we're looking at World Cancer Day, United by Unique. Dr. Haj, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. We're talking hot topic today, cancer, a big one. World Cancer Day brings us to look at, quite a number of things. And as we get into that, obviously, you're very well placed to have that with us. So, Karibu Sana. We're going to welcome you to the Situation Room with a proverb, which CT brings from different countries in Africa every week. And we've been in a very interesting country this week. So he's going to share the proverb, and you tell us what you think of that and how you would interpret that. Is that all right?
That's okay.
Okay.
This country has a capital that is known as Djibouti City. Which country is it?
Djibouti.
Okay. The good
Off to
doctor
a good
here.
start.
No, she paid attention in her geography classes. This is good. We're on to a good start here. Okay. We do not kill a dog because of its barking.
Okay. I can already feel the heat of the room with the sheet.
Should we switch on the AC for you?
So the way I look at it is that if you have an issue, take it from the root. So you don't solve a problem by just, or actually no. So you don't solve a problem just because of its noise, but take it from the root, and then make sure that when you solve the issue, you solve it properly.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. So a dog is barking because of something.
Yes.
Yeah.
A dog doesn't just bark because it's bored. Right?
Exactly.
There's something that's causing it to bark.
So you have to look
for what that issue is.
Beyond the barking,
I love it. Okay. Siti, say something.
Well, we did say that dogs have strange habits. Among the strange habits they have is they chase cars.
But they are friendly.
They are. Yeah, so if a dog barks at a particular time, that maybe there's something that has bothered it, go look for that thing.
Exactly.
Look for it. So the noise around something is just the noise. Go to the root of the problem.
This noise that we use, the word noise we use to describe a dog's barking, that's a dog communicating.
It's communicating, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of like a baby. They say a baby has different cries.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. There's one for hunger, one for uncomfortability.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. There's one for attention.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay. Great to go into that today. So there's a lot of noise around cancer. There has been for a few years. If we look at it specifically towards Africa, cancer was not as big a problem 20 years ago as it is today. But now we're looking at World Cancer Day and taking the globe into perspective. But just let's look at some markers, starting off with you, in terms of where are we as far as the burden of cancer is concerned.
Yeah. So, cancer, when patients ask me, why do I have a cancer? Why do I hear about cancer? At least every person has someone in the family, in the neighborhood, who has a cancer. So the way I look at it is cancer is the new diabetes. It's there. We have to accept it. We have to try and do our best to prevent it, but then also to treat it whenever it's diagnosed. So it's the natural history of cancer, and it's the natural history of any developing country. Initially, you focus on the communicable disease. Now, once it's sorted, you look at the non-communicable disease. So, of course, 20 years ago, the focus was mainly on TB, HIV, diabetes, chronic illness, cardiac disease. But since those ones, the health system is on top of it, kind of. Now you need to also let your health system improve and then also evolve with time. And now more critical and then more special illnesses are being looked at. It's a global phenomenon. Cancer is increasing in developed countries, in non-developed countries, in poor countries. It's just that we feel like the numbers are increasing, and they are, but it's due to many factors. Some of the factors are that now we can diagnose a cancer. Before, people would die from something, and if no investigations is done, people would think, okay, it's age, it's TB, he just fell sick. So people wouldn't give it, wouldn't call a cat, but this probably was a cancer. Now, in view of the improvement of the diagnostic modalities, imagings, biopsies, everything is available, and awareness of the health system, the doctors, the nurses, even the patients, the community, we see more and more cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we getting proper diagnoses of cancer? I remember us sitting in this room a couple of years ago, and we read a story about a gentleman who had what he thought was a flu. So he would go back, and it was constant, I've got this flu, there's congestion. And they said, well, it's just a sinus issue. And after that, maybe it's an adenoidal issue, back and forth until he went back and did a second and third callback, and he had esophageal cancer. It's the fourth stage, So are we diagnosing properly? To the point where we say it's rising, but is it possible that there are those who are sitting with cancer but are being diagnosed for something else?
Yeah, definitely. Those scenarios are still there. We are not at the level where we want to be honest, because when we see, by the time the patients reach out to a specialist, to an oncologist, for example, or a tertiary hospital, when you look at the history and when we take the history, you find at least those patients have struggled for 3 months before coming to the right place. So those scenarios are still there. It depends on where do they start from. So sometimes, when you start from a rural area or from the frontline health systems, sometimes we feel like there is, it's easier to call it TB, it's easier to call it a flu, rather than think about an underlying issue. And then the problem is that sometimes we feel like the patients go from one facility to another. So let's say, for example, he went to the first facility, they told him it's flu, they gave him medication.
Yeah.
If there's no improvement, if you go back to the same facility, they might be able now to start looking at other differentials, and cancer might be one of them. The problem is that the patients, go from one facility to another, and then sometimes you find yourself repeating a first blood test, then a second one, then a third one, even scans, imagings. So there isn't really, there isn't a continuation of the process of investigating. But then also, cancer is still a taboo somehow. So sometimes you find barriers coming from the community or from the health system. So there is lack of awareness. Some patients might fear the diagnosis, and then when they feel like the doctor that they are seeing is heading to inform them that there is diagnosis, they fear it, and then they just run away. Or they want a second and a third opinion. Because sometimes I also receive patients asking me, like, are you sure it's cancer? Are you sure it's not TB? Can you please look for something else? Can you please repeat my biopsy? I don't trust the other facility. While in fact, it's just the denial. When you announce a cancer, people sometimes fear the diagnosis. They immediately think it's a death sentence, and then sometimes they spend their time trying to find someone who can tell them otherwise. Yeah.
There's always the question that arises about cancer and the relationship that cancer has with pain. When one has, whether it's the onset of it or the progression of it, is pain a significant indicator in understanding cancer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So usually when the patients, I'm just bringing examples from every day. So when patients come, they have spent maybe like 7 months seeing a lump growing in the breast. There is painless. And when they come to you, they're like, but I didn't have pain. And actually, that's the trap. Cancer, when it grows, it doesn't cause pain. So people tend to neglect it. It's like, okay, I have a growth, but it's painless. Why should I go and see a doctor? So in the very early stages, cancer can be silent. You might see the growth if it's on one of the external organs, like a breast, a limb, but then you might not even feel it. For example, a lung cancer, it can grow so seamlessly that no one will detect it. And once it's detected, it's at a very late stage. While some other tumors in the brain, immediately the growth starts, the symptoms will start. The pain, the headache will start. So it depends on the location of the cancer, number one. Number two, the very first stages, it's really painless. Now, towards the end or end stages, that's when it becomes painful. And that's actually what we want to prevent. So if it's diagnosed at an early stages, cure can be offered, treatment and getting rid of this cancer can be really offered, and we want to avoid those kind of complications like pain, other complications like bleeding, affecting a vital organ like liver failure. So that's the whole purpose of the treatment. So that's why we want to encourage and we want to increase the awareness so that cancer is detected at the very early stages. And then some of the cancers we can even prevent them. So the earlier the better. If you prevent, that's a win. Even if you detect at an early stage, that's also a win. Yeah.
The understanding of even what cancer is in this country and what causes it is a subject of big debate. So, for example, there was a movement that we should not microwave our food because it will cause cancer. There's saying that if you take some certain drinks, you'll get cancer. And then the understanding of what exactly is cancer. So when I go to the doctor, the last thing on my mind for anything is cancer. So perhaps a very simple explanation of what cancer is and what are the likely causes that you've seen in your practice that Kenyans maybe are exposed to that are causing these cancers.
Sure. So to try to simplify it so that any person can understand, a cancer is a disease that starts from one abnormal cell. So basically, all of our cells are aging. We have new ones coming. So there is a continuous process where there is a cell multiplication in our body. So one day, an error in the DNA might happen, and then it makes an abnormal cell appear. Now, a normal body and a normal immune system is able to detect, and this phenomenon happens quite often. So a normal body and a normal immune system will be able to detect that abnormal cell and then consider it as a non-self cell and get rid of it. So you need to have many factors. Number one, for that cell to appear. Number two, for that cell to multiply and continue growing. So either an immune system there is not functioning well, and this could be from a hereditary genetic condition, or the abnormal cell to appear and then to persist. The patient could have an abnormal immune system, so immune compromised. Patients, for example, who have chronic illnesses, who are on many medications, who are on medications that suppress their immunity, HIV patients, hereditary condition that makes the immune system abnormal. To have that abnormal cell, so many, you have to have been exposed to carcinogens, like, for example, smoking tobacco, drinking a lot of alcohol, having an unhealthy lifestyle, no physical activity, eating junk, sitting a long time, a lot of stress at work. And there are some familial conditions. So you look at the family and you find there is a significant family history of cancers. The quality of our food, the quality of the plastic and utensils and the things that we are using. So all of those are factors that when you put them together, the person can develop cancer.
And so then looking at the same factors that could predispose one to cancer, then is that now where the preventability of all of this comes from? If you take into consideration all of these things, what you eat, how you move, your family history, how you store, prepare your food, if you take all of those things into consideration, is that the premise that we work on to then say that cancer across the spectrum then is preventable?
Correct, yeah. So, for example, cervical cancer, it's number 2 cancer in Kenya, as just a matter of example. We all know that it's a human papilloma virus that induces the cancer. And number 1, the vaccine is available in the country and the intake is just too small. Vaccine is available, it's free in the government hospitals. There are many options to try and prevent or at least induce a good immune system to prevent the infection to HPV, to lead in the next 10 years to cervical cancer. So it's something where you have many years to prevent it. Do the vaccine before the little girls start having a sexual life, so you can start it at an early age to prevent them. So even if they are exposed to the virus, at least they have a good immune system, and then they will not end up having a cervical cancer 10 years later.
Which is the number 2 killer in the country.
Exactly.
Is it number 2 or number 1?
It's number 2 after breast cancer.
So in terms of incidence, it's number 2. Yeah, even in terms of mortality, it's number 2. Number 1 in Kenya is breast cancer. Now, if you try to talk about the whole region, cervical cancer comes number 1, because in the neighborhood countries, it's really number 1 cancer. Yeah, but it's still one of the cancers that really you can prevent, number 1, but then once it's there, the outcomes are not that good, especially if the patient comes at a very late stage. Yeah.
Okay.
Aflatoxin, for example, talking about food. I know everyone loves ugali. Everyone loves maize flour. But then you need to know from where you're buying it. You need to know how to store it. You know, people harvest their own maize. We don't know how they store it at home. With a lot of humidity, that makes the aflatoxin, it makes a very good environment for aflatoxin to grow. Now, you're taking that ugali every day. Of course, it will lead to some cancers such as liver cancer, esophageal cancer. So, smoking street made tobacco, for example, or even the branded ones, and then you do it every day. So you make a prompt environment to the abnormal cells to appear and then keep growing. So obviously, many cancers we can prevent. Now, someone who has a family history of colon cancer, for example, you look at the family tree, you find that this cancer does not skip any generation. Of course, you start your colonoscopies at a very early stage. You do your screenings regularly, religiously, so that in case a precancerous condition appears, we treat it before it becomes cancer. Family history of breast cancer as well. Let's say we don't have any family history of breast cancer. Did you know that 1 lady out of 8 will end up having a breast cancer? So
without family history?
Without family histories.
Jesus.
That's a
1 lady out of 8 or 9. Yeah, if we are 8 in one room, one of us will have breast cancer. So start doing your mammograms from the age of 40. And do it regularly every year.
Okay. Are there things that would definitely tell you something is going on, even if if you're aware of your health? I mean, I had a friend who passed to lung cancer last year, and when we think about it, when she started to tell us, over time that, I've lost a lot of weight and I've not necessarily been working out. I've not really changed anything in my diet. Started to feel off every now and then. Later on, then you realize, okay, actually, this could have been something because, like you said, it was painless. She had no pain for 8 years. She had nothing until this weight drop and then this feeling of malaise, all the time. And then going ahead and starting to do some tests thereafter where it was found that she had stage 4 lung cancer. So the question is, are there markers? Will you see something even with the painless period, will you see something? Will you know something that would, say, okay, perhaps there's something here that's not wrong? Because if it's painless, and that's it about us, isn't it? Is that if you don't feel any kind of pain or uncomfortability, the likelihood of you to rock up to the doctor's office is low. So would there be something that would show you, that would trigger you that, there's something wrong?
Yeah, so cancer can be detected through several symptoms, so it doesn't have like a one classic scenario. It can show in any way. One of them is just weight loss. So if someone is having a weight loss that was not planned for, and like you said, the diet did not change, we should do some blood tests. We need to run some blood tests and then run some just basic investigations, and then we'll be able to detect. But the key word here, maybe she has noticed the weight loss and then she didn't go and seek help. So they didn't go and see a doctor, for example. Weight loss is really a general symptom, but should be considered seriously if it's persistent and it's really not planned for. She could have had a cough. I don't know. Saying. Yeah, she did have a cough. So a persistent cough should be investigated. Why would you be having a cough and it's persistent for more than 2 weeks? Okay, a cough that follows a flu or a cold or a pneumonia, you can allow it to stay 2 weeks, but beyond 2 weeks, it's not normal. So you need to go and have some imagings on the chest, make sure that there is no growth, do regular checkups, do annual blood tests or annual checkups, just to be sure that you can prevent other problems. Now, a simple blood test sometimes can tell us more than what you think, and then we might start detecting abnormalities, and then you start one step after the other that will lead you to the main problem, to the root of the issues. For example, someone who is coughing blood, it's not normal. Well, if you see a blood, it's not normal. A new growth, it's not normal. Abdominal pain, vomiting blood, those are not normal symptoms. Blood in the stool, also those are not normal symptoms. So once those symptoms start and a patient or a person see it, medical attention needs to be sought, yeah? Now, to prevent, because once you reach those symptoms, cancer is there. Yeah. But then if you want to really prevent, if you're aged 40 and plus, do a colonoscopy, and then the gastroenterologist will guide you how often do you need to do it. Do your mammogram. Do annual checkups, do blood tests, sometimes even blood pressure or diabetes. I mean, it's sad to find someone coming to your clinic because they never stepped inside any hospital. They come for other issues, and then you discover that diabetes might have been there for years. They come with, for example, a side issue. And then you just try and do your investigations, and then you find that this person had diabetes for a long period of time. They would tell you, I always felt thirsty. Yeah, I wake up at night several times. So do regular checkups, and that's how we will be able to detect problems early enough to be able to treat them, prevent cancers, or even prevent other health conditions.
Okay. Yeah. Our Healthy Friday conversation this morning is with Dr. Maina Haj, and we're looking at, around the intrigues of cancer today on World Cancer Day, united by unique, so many things that we are getting information about this morning. We're going to continue with that conversation when we come back from this break. It's 28 minutes to 8.
The weather with SpiceFM.
15 degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 26 and we'll see highs of 27 in a mostly sunny Nakuru at 13. It's sunny at 14 in Nyeri with highs of 26, and at 12 sunny in Eldoret. Mombasa is sunny at 25 and Malindi at 25 sunny as well. It's 19 and partly sunny in Kisumu, while in Kakamega at 17 sunny conditions through Friday. Sunny at 20 in Kampala with highs of 28, while at 27 it's cloudy in Dar es Salaam. Johannesburg at 17 is cloudy, with Mogadishu at 26 with sunny conditions, 14 and sunny in Addis Ababa, while it's clear at 27 in Lagos. It's cloudy at 23 in Kinshasa. morning with traffic today. There is quite some traffic, however, coming off of the Thika Superhighway, and it's coming in from beyond the Allsops Junction, right around Garden City, heading out towards Survey. So that slows down things just a little bit. Bumper to bumper situation there. And also coming in on Kiambu Road, we've got some traffic as well. It's busy on Kangunda Road today as you're touching on Outer Ring, and you'll see that traffic coming in from Manyanja Road, heading out towards the Kangunda Road Junction, as well as outbound towards the Thika Superhighway. So that's happening there. Eastern bypass traffic seems to have started off as well. And we're looking at traffic coming off of Langata Road, finding its way then towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and it'll get onto Hulu Highway at some point. It's busy on Gong Road, coming in from Naivasha Road. As you touch on the junction, some of that will go towards Riara Road and out towards James Gishuru, which incidentally over the drift, there is some traffic in and outbound as you find your way towards Red Hill. So that's busy this morning. And we're also seeing some traffic then coming off of Lower Kabete towards Spring Valley. Watch out for this. We are in traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we go through it, and we'll talk in the meantime, trying to keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room. Dr. Manel Haj is our guest this hour, and we are talking cancer on this World Cancer Day on our Healthy Friday conversation today.
You know, when you talk about those symptoms, I'm sure that people who are listening and they're diabetic, they're hypertensive, or they're generally, they smoke, and maybe some of those symptoms are ringing true. The question is, where do you go? Where do you go? Do you start at your dispensary, where you go to your clinical officer? Do you go to Kenyatta Hospital immediately? If you have symptoms that are worrying you, a cough that has stayed a long time, where exactly do you go?
Yeah, I think, nowadays in the countries we have, we really do have specialists somehow covering all counties. So let's say, for example, you have a persistent cough. The best is to go and see a pulmonologist so that they can do thorough investigations and make sure that this cough is either a benign condition, such as asthma, for example, or TB, or a malignant underlying condition. Abdominal pain, blood in the stool, persistent dyspepsia, persistent heartburn, weight loss, go and see the gastroenterologist. So those who don't have immediate access to the specialist, at least you can start with the physician, and the physician will definitely orient you to where to go. The patients who have diabetes, high blood pressure, they all have their either family physician or general practitioner or endocrinologist and or a cardiologist that is looking after their condition. Those specialized doctors would be able to orient you and put you on the right circuit from the get-go. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, just for understanding, one, see your doctor. If you have a persistent issue, get a doctor who's a specialist with what you have as an issue. So whether it's your stomach, your head, your eyes, your whatever, see the doctor who's relevant to that. And then that doctor, if they don't find a condition that is normal, they will then refer you for cancer screening or something like that.
Yeah, so we really have a methodology to look for the most common conditions, starting from the benign one to the malignant one. So, of course, you rule out what is urgent to be ruled out, such, for example, an infection, which is reversible, and it has to be immediately treated, But then, even if you treat it and then things are persistent, or you detect some abnormalities in the blood test, that's when you start thinking of other conditions. So usually when you see a specialist, when you see a physician or someone who really, who is really subspecialized on that complaint, we usually have a methodology on thinking of like more than just one diagnosis, from the most common one, the most probable one, to the unprobable one. So even if cancer is the unprobable scenario, in that case, someone would have thought of it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So this is interesting because as we talk about prevention of cancer, one of the big issues is screening. But a lot of our folk, we worried about, number one, the cost of screening. Cost for screening of cancer is still pretty high. We did hear about an intervention a couple of months ago for cervical cancer where they used, I believe it was the vinegar color test, which was, relatively cheaper than any other kind of screening, for example, a pap smear, But if we talk about 2,000 shillings, which now some organizations are able to do a pap smear for a lot of people, for very many people, that is still very expensive. And I want to park that and then bring in a conversation that we had the other day on research, where a lot of stuff is being done and how they need to then be supported for some of these things that we speak of. So even as we celebrate or commemorate World Cancer Day today, one of the big things is screening. Are there moves in the direction of making available cheaper screening mechanisms for people to then, take advantage of?
Yeah, so that's really a good question, and I think people need to know, if you find screening expensive, you have no idea about cancer treatment. So you better prevent it than treat it. So, and in terms of screening, it's just, a one-off. Not really a one-off, it's a regular screening, but then, it happens once a year or once every 2 years. You'll be guided by the doctor. But trust me, preventing cancer costs much less than treating cancer. So we need to invest on screening. People need to go for their screening. And actually, majority of the facilities are doing screening. I mean, of course, I work at the Aga Khan University Hospital. And then just, for example, this month, we are offering 50% on all modalities of screening. Pap smears, mammogram. We don't really screen for prostate cancer, but even PSA blood test is a bit cheaper. So take those opportunities, follow, because many hospitals, many facilities, many insurances are actually helping the population to access screening. So just ask around. You will find that there are so many options if you really want to stick to the screening. So preventing is always better than treating on all aspects. On your pocket, on your health, and then also on your outcomes. So screening, I don't think screening is really expensive, and it is accessible, and we have many options. As doctors, as health care system, we want to increase awareness, and we increase awareness through the screening. So many doctors will volunteer. Many doctors will be doing campaigns free of charge, go deep into the rural areas, go deep into, it doesn't have to be in Nairobi only. So we visit counties, we give free of charge talks. We also offer tests whenever it's available, and we see the impact. Let me tell you something. At our tumor board now at Aga Khan, we are still seeing the patients that came for the screening in October for breast cancer screening. And you can't imagine the wonderful number of patients with stage 1 cancers we are seeing. They just came for the screening. And usually, it's really sad that we see a peak of stage 1 breast cancer. So they start October, November, December, January, February. Now we are discussing those stage 1 cancers. And the treatment will be just surgery and then hormonal treatment. Less or minimal of them will end up doing chemotherapy. So imagine, it's just wonderful. You diagnose a breast cancer at stage 1. You don't give your patient chemotherapy. Treatment sometimes will stop at surgery, radiation, and hormonal treatment. And you tell them, congratulations, you're done with your treatment. Your survival is more than 90%. You join the normal population. This was a short period in your life. Better than having someone come on stage 3, stage 4. Stage 4, now you tell them, I'm sorry, but this is a lifelong treatment. You will always be on treatment. Right. So the scenarios are completely different. And now, so since we have seen the impact of the discount that the hospital offers in October, now we are doing it twice, October and February. And it's the same thing that will happen. March and December, we will detect many precancerous conditions, many stage 1 conditions. And it's just wonderful. You feel like you've helped preventing so many complications to your patients.
There's a statement you've said thrice now, pre-cancer. What is that?
So, when you do, I'll just focus on breast cancer. I'll just use the two most common cancers. Breast cancer, let me use 3. Breast cancer, cervical cancer, and prostate cancer. All right. So for breast cancer, we know there are some precancerous conditions. Just for example, what we call an in situ disease, DCIS. Yeah, so it didn't breach the membrane, and it didn't become invasive and become a cancer to spread. And that's something you can just treat with a surgery. You just remove it, and it will not move to the next step, which will be cancer. So you detect it just by seeing some abnormal calcifications on the mammogram. You go, you take a sample, and you find the DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ. So it's still contained. It didn't spread yet. It didn't become an invasive condition. Cervical cancer. So we know which of the viruses are behind the cervical cancer. So when you do a pap smear, sometimes you start seeing an atypical cell, atypical cell on your smear, and then you know that this one in the next couple of years will become a cervical cancer. So you can treat it from that stage, and it doesn't have to entail chemo or radiation, so you can just treat it. And then in terms of surgery, we have many options, from the less invasive one to the complete removal of the uterus, depending of course on the stage of that precancerous conditions. Prostate cancer, for example, if someone has a family of prostate cancer, or let's say without family of prostate cancer, and then they have some urine issues, go and see a urologist. They will do what they need to differentiate between a benign hypertrophy of the prostate or prostate cancer. And then let's say the diagnosis, so immediately you started having urine issues and you went to see the specialist. They will do some investigations, screen for infection, number one, make sure that you don't have a urine retention. But then one of the investigations, when it's the right time, would be to do a PSA. If the PSA is elevated, now that's when you start asking for scans, ultrasound, MRI if need be. And if suspicion of cancer, we take a sample. Now, if you did that early enough, sometimes we end up diagnosing prostate cancer and we don't treat it. We just observe it. We do what we call an active surveillance. So we can offer you 3 years free of any treatment, free of any complications, but you are under thorough follow-up and thorough surveillance. So when it's time to treat it, that's when we treat it. And then even when it becomes 3 years without any treatment, and then let's say the status has changed and you need treatment, it can still be cured, you can still be offered surgery. You don't have to really, you might choose between surgery and then all hormonal treatment and radiation because it's an early stage and you have the luxury to choose the option you want. But it's better than, coming at a late stage where the only option that you will be offered is possibly chemotherapy, for example. So we can prevent so many things by showing up on time.
What are the chances of relapse even after a state of remission, for example, has been pronounced?
What is remission?
What is remission? Okay. So remission is when you have a patient that had a cancer, received treatment, and then remained at least 5 years with no relapse. Those ones you can call them remission, patients on remission. And there are so many cancers that we can cure at a rate of more than 90%. Cure. Like, for example, let me just bring in some examples. There is one type of blood cancer called Hodgkin lymphoma. Hodgkin lymphoma, when it's detected from stage 1, even up to stage 3 and even 4, you can cure them. Of course, the earlier you come, the higher are your chances of cure, and then the less are your chances of having a relapse. Testicular cancer. I remember last year I came here and we talked about testicular cancer. It's one of the cancers that can be cured at more than 90%, such as Hodgkin lymphoma as well. So those are like good prognosis cancer. So, but all the conditions should be together to be able to offer that cure to your patient. So treatment is available. That's one condition that I can tell you we can tick. Surgery is available. We can tick. Scans, PET scans, wherever the patient needs in terms of investigation, available, can tick. Now we need patients' awareness and we need them to come on time. Now when we achieve that, of course, those types of cancers will be seen at an early stage, will be treated, will be cured. Patients will be slowly going back to their normal life.
So then how come... So then we do see cases of relapse after remission. What are the chances of that, and why is it then? And I mean, that question, then I've just seen a question here from Agola as well, that why then do we see that cancers come back more aggressive even after that?
So more aggressive, I'm not really sure about it. I don't think there is really evidence confirming that it comes back more aggressive, but few scenarios we have explanations. Why do people relapse? Unfortunately, the relapse rate in our setting here is quite significant because when you look at the initial presentation, patient has already presented at a very late stage. So, and I usually inform my patients about that. So like if they come at a stage 3 and the disease has already spread to the lymph nodes, and you look at some risk factors like the proliferation index on the microscope, the grade, how aggressive is the tumor, and then the stage plays a major role. So, for example, let me just talk about breast cancer, for example. Stage 1, like hormonal type, chances of relapse is between 10 to 20%, less than 10%. Let me put it less than 10%. Stage 2, chances of relapse, 20%. And I'm talking about the next 20 years. I'm not talking about the next year. Stage 3, between 20 and 40%. So the later you present, the higher you increase your risk of having relapses. Also, the patients who are relapsing now, they may have not received the appropriate treatment 10 years ago because the drug might not have been available in the country, number one. Number two, the treatment paradigm changes and evolves. Some drugs were not discovered 10 years ago and they are discovered now. So the outcomes are changing. The improvement of the outcomes, the reduction of the risk of relapse is improving. But one important condition that we all need to put our hands together and make sure it happens is early presentation.
Okay, so I've just got to jump in there because when we talk about early presentation and we're looking at some of the numbers, when we talk about, the cancer burden in the country, sadly, and I don't know if this is, it's like a last 2024 number, but 70 to 80% of the cancers diagnosed in Kenya today are diagnosed in their late stages, and late stage 3, 4. Right? But we're saying that and we've talked to medical professionals who will say, yourself as well, who will say that medical care in Kenya has to now start to focus on the preventative as opposed to the curative because then, number one, it's cheaper. Number two, the quality of life that is preserved is much higher on the scale, but we still have that very high number that 80% of those that have been diagnosed are diagnosed in the late stages, even with the push towards preventative healthcare. How? And I know it must be a difficult question, but how are we going to then bridge that gap?
Awareness. We need to increase awareness. So we need, like, for example, this session. I'm sure it will reach many houses. And I'm sure even those who were not aware of, cancer can be treated, cancer can be prevented, cancer can be, it's not a death sentence. Options of treatment are there. People continue with their normal life. So this will encourage people to go for their screening, will encourage people to reach out if they have any issues. Maybe as we are speaking now, someone has a breast lump and then they realize that they need to go to a nearby facility and they will do it tomorrow. So increasing awareness is the key. We need to reach the whole of population from the most from the capital to the ruralest, to the most rural area. So increasing awareness, and that's what we are trying to do.
Why do so many people go out of the country, specifically to India, for cancer care and cancer treatment?
Okay, so here I'm giving my objective opinion.
Okay.
I'm not Indian, I'm not Kenyan, so I can be objective.
Yes, you can. Me too.
So I don't know why I feel like there is people look high at overseas options, and I don't know why it is being put in there. It's a mentality, basically. People think that Indian treatment is much better than what can be offered here. They are the best doctors, they have the best options, while here they look at it differently, and it might have started like many years ago. I don't think it has come now, but I'm clearly seeing a change of the mentality when people come to us. They understand, we explain to them the treatment, the options and everything. They feel like, why do I even have to travel overseas? Everything is available in my own country. Let me be surrounded by my family and my beloved people while I'm walking this journey. Let me not walk this journey alone. But I agree with you, some people are still thinking that, maybe when they go to India will be better. But now I think the people who are going there, they know that things are available here. It's not like before where maybe a few things were lacking. Now we almost have everything. Let me be honest. whatever is missing is really minimal, and I know a lot of efforts are being put to even those minimal sophisticated procedure will be available here with expertise and with experienced people. So I know what we are doing on the background and what we are trying to improve, because also as a doctor and as a healthcare provider, you want to offer your patient the best, and we are really working hard on it as, many societies, surgical societies, oncology societies, to improve our services. So a lot of hard work is being put, but to explain the overseas travel, it's before it used to be done because there were so many gaps in the country. Now, honestly, things have evolved so rapidly in a short period of time. In oncology management, I don't think we have several gaps, just like 2-3 minimal things that we are yet to have, but we are working on it. But people might travel, mainly the cash payers might travel because of the cost. So cost remains also an issue. So, in India, they have a lot of competitors.
It's a large country.
It's a large country.
Many people. They are much richer than us. They have more facilities.
They have more facilities,
yes,
yeah.
And also when you have that huge population, many of whom are poor, the incidences of ailments that you come across are more. So people in that particular field will have had a much broader experience with dealing with those things than here. You see, the question we ask can be asked of our neighbors. Many people in East and Central Africa come to Kenya for treatment.
And that's a true statement, yeah. So I see a lot of patients coming from Tanzania, Uganda, DRC, Burundi, Rwanda. There are many. So those people have realized they don't have to travel to India to get appropriate treatment. So they come to the closest country.
Right.
And they are really happy and comfortable and have all the reassurance to be treated here. Yeah.
I mean, even as we raise awareness, just to get down to the humanness of all of this, especially when we come to preventative care, and you talk about screening, just looking at some comments here, and also just from what we've heard, is that even if you do have the money for a screen, you don't want to know the outcome. So the fear of outcome is a real issue. How do we get that out of the minds of people that you do want to know? It's prescriptive. You want to know what is going on, if there is. How do we deal with that?
Yeah. So just going back to the topic, I really like the United by Unique because that's exactly what we see with our patients. So they all have the C word, cancer, how people like to name it. They all have the C word, but they are all unique. So some of my patients started with that fear of cancer. So like the first thing, they will be coming to you and tell you, please don't tell me I have a cancer. But then they make it their strength, and then whatever they went through, they don't want anyone else to go through. So like some of my patients, for example, they made it out of a breast cancer, and then they realized that they need to help the doctors and increase the awareness. They have created patient support group. One of my patients, just to say hi, they have created Cancer Must Go, and she's put in a lot of efforts to make sure that the people surrounding her, because she's a young lady, the people are like young patients are aware of cancer. They don't fear cancer. She's sharing her experience, and she's sharing with so many other patients' experience to tell them, this is what we went through. It's not a death sentence. It was actually a journey. When I look back at it, has helped me with a lot of confidence, strength, and I want to transmit what I learned from this journey to other people and make sure that they don't fear it. And then go and seek help from the health system. Be strong. We are here with you. We are helping you. So I think, and I think I've lost the question. The question was?
How do you deal with that?
How you deal?
To get over the fear. Yeah.
Get over the fear, yeah. So, the first clinic, when they come to us, they are in a lot of fear. But then after that, they accept it. Initially, that's the natural reaction. So you are in denial, then you have a lot of anger, and then you accept it, and now you keep moving. So we need to respect also all those phases, but then we need to make sure that we help them get out of the first phase, which is the denial and the anger, as soon as possible. So that's a normal process of, that is the normal way of processing that information of having a cancer. But patients really need to know that cancer is not a death sentence. If I put all cancers together, and if patients come at an early stage, I'm talking about a cure of around 70 to 80%. So and I keep looking at cancer nowadays as cancer is the new diabetes. People before used to fear diabetes, right? Like, don't tell me I have high blood pressure. Don't tell me I have diabetes.
I still
now,
fear diabetes.
Cancer is everywhere, and many options are available. So you better catch it at the root, like the first proverb we started with.
Yes.
And then you start working on it, and then the outcomes will be much better. Even better if you prevent it. So we have campaigns for preventions. We have campaigns for awareness. Take those opportunities, use them, do your preventions, do your screenings, and then you might even avoid having a cancer, prevent it happening at all. If you really fear it, put all your efforts to prevent it.
World Cancer Day is united and unique, and ways in which you've been able to spread that information. And it's important that we continue to talk about these things. It's too big a burden not to, and but then also seeing that there are interventions that can actually save life. Dr. Manel Haj has been here with us this morning. I want to thank you for being here on our cancer conversation on this Healthy Friday. She's a consultant medical oncologist at the Akan University Hospital, and we've gone through those issues today, commemorating World Cancer Day. I want to thank you once again for being here today. Asante Sana.
Thank you.
Good morning. Conversations continue. It's 8 a.m.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Al-Shabaab militants are now demanding a ransom of 7 million shillings after they kidnapped 5 chiefs from Mandera County last Monday. Muhammad Adawa, Muhammad Hassan, Muhammad Nur, Ibrahim Gabo and Abdi Sura were on their way to Elwak for official duties when their vehicle was intercepted by the militants near Iresuki. The militants blindfolded them before driving towards Lafay, an area notorious for such attacks. The kidnapping happened just a day before President William Ruto visited the area for a development tour. Ruto, who condemned the incident, instructed the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli, to do everything within his power to ensure the administrators are freed. President William Ruto is today expected to officially open the 3-day Nyanza International Investment Conference that kicked off on Thursday. The conference has brought together more than 600 delegates and dignitaries from various sectors to explore and shape the future of the region's economic prosperity. Speaking to journalists on Thursday, the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Industry, Dr. Juma Mukhwana, urged investors to tap into the region's manufacturing sector. Dr. Mukhwana said Nyanza's contribution to Kenya's manufacturing sector is not commensurate to its great potential.
The region is only contributing 6% to manufacturing. If you compare that, for example, with Kiambu at 9%, or you compare that to Machakos at 5%, and Kilifi, and that kind of, the potential here has not been properly utilized. One of the areas that we also want to encourage people is private sector investment, because when you talk about manufacturing, the people of this region tend to think that manufacturing is for government. Government does not exist to set up industry. But we exist to set up good policies, to be good referees, to support private people that want to invest.
Over 50,000 cases out of 61,269 filed at the small claims courts since 2021 have been resolved, the Judiciary has said. In a media engagement communique by spokesperson Paul Ndemo, the Judiciary said it needs more funding to hire more staff for efficiency. Ndemo said the small claims court has solved cases valued at 9.2 billion shillings in the last 4 years. He said they were engaging Parliament for funding to enable them recruit adjudicators for the court, and expressed optimism that the request will be considered favorably. 144 Kenyan police officers have arrived in Haiti to reinforce the Kenyan-led multinational security support mission. The team, consisting of 120 men and 24 women, landed in the Caribbean nation last evening, bringing to 744 the total number of Kenyan police there. Their deployment comes days after the security mission's future was thrown into limbo after the U.S. froze some funding before passing a waiver to unlock a separate batch of funds. Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen said Washington and other countries had assured them that they'll continue funding the mission.
And already is in place, not just by many countries in the world, but also including the United States. And therefore, having our government is constantly in touch with our friends, including the United States, and they have assured us of their continued support for this mission.
Violent gangs in Haiti control much of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and a swath of other areas, including agricultural heartlands. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order sanctioning the International Criminal Court. He accuses the ICC of illegitimate and baseless actions targeting America and its close ally, Israel. The order places financial and visa restrictions on individuals and their families who assist in ICC investigations of American citizens or allies. Trump signed the measure as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was visiting Washington. Last November, the ICC issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Hamas commander of alleged war crimes in Gaza, which Israel denies. A White House memo circulated on Thursday accused the Hague-based court of creating what it described as a shameful moral equivalency between Hamas and Israel by issuing the warrants at the same time. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamir.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
8, and it's the 7th of February, and we're getting into the third hour. I can still count, of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. We are having a diaspora conversation. She's going to be here in a minute, but Mark,
yes,
1 million people, 150,000, 18 to 35. I don't know, 267 million.
Yes.
These are numbers that are just popping in my head.
Yes, yes.
Tell me.
And you're quite correct. 267 million worth of loans has been given out. And then what is most interesting, you know how many people do their work, juakali. You know, you went to be trained. You never really got a certificate. You're a mechanic, but you don't have your paperwork. So you don't qualify for this other job. KCB can fix that. You know how they fix it? They train you so that you are accredited by the national agency in charge of accrediting such things, and they do it in various fields and places such as hairstyling, all the way to being a mechanic, plumbing, etc. You go for training, and after you do that training, your vocational training, they will help you out with giving you a training on business. So let's talk about accounting, branding, how to present yourselves, and things like that actually help your brand work. And then after that, they will still give you a loan after incubating you. In other words, they'll give you all the training, mentorship you need so that now you are able to actually hit the ground running with your business. So KCB to Judiciary program is what you need to look out for, and you need to go to KCB Group/Foundation for more information.
There you go. And so, CT, you've been telling us about DTB and how they've made sure that, mortgages, everybody can get a mortgage. No?
Actually, everyone who wants a mortgage can understand how best to get a mortgage from Diamond Trust Bank. You see, the idea that mortgages are beyond the reach of most people is at best not true. Now, the only way you can determine the veracity of what I'm saying is simple, really. One, you will listen to what I'm saying, and then after that, you can verify it. And what I'm saying is this: Diamond Trust Bank says, we have a product for you. We want to offer you a mortgage, and we can offer you that mortgage at 9% or at 9.75%. Why the difference? Well, if you want a mortgage for 10 years, it'll be 9%. If it's more than 25 years, if it's 25 years, then it's 9.75. But before you even get to these figures and amounts, there's need for you to do away with your fear and find out what it is that you're able to. Don't let your financial situation determine that process for you. Come and talk to us, then we'll see what can work out.
Okay.
Diamond Trust Bank is able to help you solve that mortgage problem that you've had. No hidden charges, no extra costs, no penalties for early payment. Email mortgages@dtbafrica.com or visit the nearest Diamond Trust Bank outlet near you.
There you go. And even as you do, you can remember that you can take a sipper from your cuppa this morning, and all of these great flavors in Delamere's classic yogurt. I've got the pear caramel this morning, and this was my on-the-go breakfast that I had. And you can think about that through Friday and into the weekend, where you're going to take a stop and say, okay, well, I need a snack, and there's your snack in great flavors with real fruit, strawberry, and there's the pear and there's the pear and caramel. There is the orange and honey, there is choco chip, all sorts of great stuff for that moment with Delamere. Real pieces of real fruit and other ingredients in your classic yogurt from Delamere. We're getting into a diaspora conversation this hour, and even as we do, our guest is here, and we're glad that she's here today. We would have liked to have her before, but all the same, she's here today. Comfort Monoru Mwangi is a political commentator, and she's here, and we're talking about Kenyan diaspora view of their country of birth. Comfort, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Karibu, Sana.
Asante sana.
Thank you for being here. You're in the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yeah, it feels hot.
Already?
Yeah.
Wait till you hear the questions. But before we get there, let's welcome you to the Situation Room with today's proverb. CT has proverbs that he gets from different African countries every week. We're getting round to the last day of the one for this week. So he'll tell us what that is. You give us your interpretation of the same. We're putting you to work already. Does that sound fair enough?
Okay.
All right.
We do not kill a dog because of its barking.
Okay. We don't kill a dog because... We don't... Say that again?
We do not kill a dog because of its barking.
Yeah, because probably that is also protection.
Yes.
It's protecting us.
Yes.
And that is its value. The barking. Don't go kill it.
So what do you think that means?
It means you be tolerant. Be tolerant. Yes.
There you go. The barking could mean something. And so it's sending a message to you.
Sending a message, talking out, speaking out of turn and all that. Just be patient with people. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So even as we get into today's conversation, you are a political commentator, but you also don't live in Kenya, at least not for most of the time. So you are a member of the diaspora in one way or another, are you not?
Yes.
Okay. There seems to be a view, and let's just go into, first of all, folks who live in the diaspora have left Kenya for one reason or another, whether it is greener pastures, whether it is work, whether it is education, by relationship, marriage, went with a spouse, all sorts of things. But there's still a thought that's held for your mother country, and being able to hear the different views that have been going around over the last, couple of years, even looking at this, 2.5 year administration. Give us an overview of what diaspora thinking for Kenya is at the moment.
Okay, I could also just make a small correction. I actually ran for Senate, Muranga. I ran for Senate and I came 4th out of 7. So I also have my ear on the ground. I'm more like a political junkie, so I know what's going on here. But being out there, I've lived in Germany as well as the US. So I can say I have seen changes over time. I was there when we had Kibaki as the president. I was also there when we had Uhuru. And now, of course, we have these 2.5 years. So we're able to see the trends and what has changed and how our families feel and what is going on. But most of us, we may be far away, but we do follow the politics because we have our families here. We've got vested interest.
And so what do you follow? From what you follow, rather, what do you see?
Well, I could compare things like when we're out there in the diaspora, things like the boundaries that we have are very protected out there. So when we hear that our president has opened the boundaries to anybody from any corner of the world can come here, it's a problem because we know what that means. When people come in, we don't know the exact identification, what they're doing, how long they'll stay, what they'll do when they're here, and how they're going to probably compete directly with us. Other countries out there protect themselves so hard that we feel disadvantaged when we see that our country doesn't understand that, and we're worried about that. Mm-hmm. And then other things I could say, we also follow the politics of abductions because we also have family here. It's very, very concerning, very, very concerning how you can grab people off the street, hold them beyond 24 hours, no legal representation, they turn up dead, and we know who is doing it. It's probably the government, because we observe, we also follow the stories. So such things concern us when we're out there from the overview. We also follow the corruption when we see the amount of money that we lose through corruption in such a poor country where people don't find jobs but ghosts get paid. That's really a concern for us. And then when we are called every time, we've seen the calls are increasing for help. So when you see the remittances go up, that is help we're giving, besides the investments that we do. Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That, because we've been given the numbers over years, and it's in the billions that come into the country every year. And it's even actually counted as a factor towards economic stability in the country, that there's a huge diaspora contribution. But that you say that, yes, when you see the remittances going up, it's not necessarily that folks are doing wonderfully well in terms of the business arena, but that folks on this other end of the pond are asking for help because things here are not looking so good. So the numbers go up because people are
Yes, there's a
distressed.
connection between the governance. When things are a bit better, we can see we don't get many calls. But before we were getting calls from our relatives who are pretty suffering, but then now we're getting the middle class. Middle class are calling us. People are in problems. So when I see that continue, we see, then we want to travel here, then you disturb us at the airport, you don't respect our remittances. That concerns us. Well, our remittances are now up to, they overtake the coffee, the tea, we're number 2, besides the direct foreign investment. Then we come to the airport. Many people have stopped coming, by the way, and we feel mistreated at the airport when you pull up our things. They want to tax us again. That is, we feel disrespected. Some diasporas in other countries actually get a red carpet, because what they do, they have a straight line. You're diaspora, you have a line for yourself, something like that.
The thing about a country like ours is the moving parts are many, and they keep moving.
Yes.
And if you're looking at it from the position of a citizen, let me talk about myself. Most of the time, I'm actually not sure about the direction that things are moving in. And I say I'm not sure because I may think this is what is happening, but as I look close, I realize what I think is happening may not be what is happening. For instance, at what point do I look at this particular government and place the entire blame of what I see on them? On what do I look at the continuum of government and ask some of these problems emanated before this particular president? And if I were to become a history student, then I would say, but this problem began even before this other one. So am I to judge this leadership by how they're handling what they found? Am I judging this leadership by what it is they said they would do? Am I judging this leadership by the manner in which the executive, that is, they relate to the other 2 arms of government? My confusion. And one would assume that confusion clears up over time, but in my mind it doesn't.
Well, I can say, I don't know why you're calling it leadership. It's no longer leadership, the way we're saying.
Oh, it is actually.
Some form of leadership. Okay, I feel like the democracy here has been hacked over time. I guess globally, within the globe, people are becoming more authoritarian. But us, we have a special angle of tribalism and corruption. and impunity. So many things are combined that from out there we're seeing our country crashing to a halt.
But this problem that we have here, you see, the question I'm asking myself is this the first time we're seeing them? That one I have clarity. It is not. And why is this particular one special?
Because we're feeling it. When you see a 6-year-old saying the president needs to go, when you talk to anybody, people call us, it's almost like that's a conversation now. I can say it's up to almost 90% the way we feel it.
Wow. So your difference is, from to pick up from City's question, is not that Kenya has strayed from the path it's been on. It's that it's gone deeper. Let's talk solutions. I think we've sat many times and pinpointed the issues of corruption, tribalism, etc. From a diaspora perspective, and indeed as a Kenyan, as someone who's run for office, what should we do? Because that's a thing that really turns my stomach. What should we do? What should be done? Because, for example, when you talk about phone calls, we get phone calls about healthcare, for example, and in my mind, universal healthcare sounds like a good solution because I'm tired of being called and told there is flu here, there is malaria here, you need to fix. But then when we put in the universal healthcare, there's still a gap. So what is the solution?
I think the solution is probably can really help is to look for the countries that have done the best practices. And I see the people, the guests who come here, they like to quote Singapore. What they did in Singapore was what you call corporate, the corporate model. And that's what Rwanda also took. That's what the UEA also took. Where you run the country on meritocracy, you interview the people, it's what they can do. You look at their history, what can they do? So the president is the CEO of this company, and we are the board of governors, the members of the board, we the citizens. Then you move down to the CSs. We should have experts there, not people being put there because of their tribe, what they can do, how much they gave to the campaign. And then we move on to, then we have the MPs. There should also be members of parliament who articulate, who are able to represent the people on matters that need to be done for the country. It's very crucial. The MPs are very crucial. But when we put there people who are not able to contribute to the debate, who are pocketed in the bathrooms, because we are given money in the bathrooms, then we move on to the Senate, we find that everybody has been compromised. Now it's the season to compromise the judges, the Supreme Court and all. We are observing from out there, and we are concerned. I think if we move to that model, we'll be able to do performance-based interrogations. How is our president doing? Short-term, long-term, and that kind of a thing. And also tying our strategic plan for the country to only 5 years. We had the 2030 vision. If you look at those 3 countries I mentioned, some are up to 2050. But as we attach 5 years, those 5 years, and then we try to put something popular, we try to change it completely so we can own that legacy. And we mess up. Look at your shisha. Somebody comes and see a functioning NHIF, changes it. Look at your 844. They change it to something else we can't describe. All that because they just want to change things to have their legacy. So we are all these things, when we look at them, we need to change a model that can work. We can't have, I think you have 390 members of parliament, 67 senators, and then we have all these people working in government still using paper. We need to look for ways to digitalize everything and move to a different economy where we are headed.
You'd be amazed at how digitalized we are. Do you know that our entire judiciary is actually digitalized fully? We are quite digitalized. But the point you make is a valid one. The point about not changes, the complete overhaul of systems that we have, it's something that causes concern. Because it's presented as a solution, and when it is presented, what you see is very many problems. And you still wait for the solutions, but I guess we'll still keep waiting. Let me ask the question I want to ask. When we look at our country, sometimes it is good to be away because you have the benefit of comparison that we don't. Would you say there is hope?
There's hope if you get the right people in place. But like I'm saying, we need to change the model because we're going into the big future out there. But the way we are doing things based on our 44 tribes, grouping together so that we can get in. I think the current president has made it very rosy that you go there and you can really make money. You have your hands on all the resources of this country, particularly the budget is in your pocket. So now people are gathering together. We're seeing them from an overview. We can see all these people teaming up. What are they teaming up for? To get to the resources too. People are doing crazy things, and we're seeing the borders are open. No, we're told visas are open, anybody can come in. And we're told, we don't need to vet them to get their IDs. Can you imagine that?
But is that for everybody?
Is scary.
But no, wait a moment. But is that for everybody?
The open visa thing, we did it for Africa.
South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the opening of the borders for everybody?
Well, the opening of the borders, I think she's referring to the ID issue.
Of the president recently announced in his Northeastern tour.
Yeah, it's not even recently, it's yesterday.
It's yesterday.
Yes. That we don't need to vet people getting IDs. But what I'm saying is the order of events. When you visit to the rest of Africa, that means we can have the Sudan and then the immediate neighbors. They had a chance to come in.
But they do come in.
But if we don't regulate it, that's what I'm saying. Out there as diaspora, we really understand what that means. We're checked from facial recognition, eyes, to get in. You come out, they know everything you've done. But these people are coming in, we don't know. And I'm talking like Trump. They're coming in, they're doing this.
But bear in mind that Somalia, is Somalia part of this African community?
No.
No, but the other countries and the people around us, one of the things that this African community guarantees is free movement. Remember, there are countries that we no longer need a passport to go with. You just need your ID to go to.
Free movement, but not free voting.
Yes, you would know. That is why I brought it up, so that you can explain it.
Well, it's technically, they do say that you can go to Tanzania, Uganda, etc. with your ID, but no, you will need either a temporary passport or a passport, and they will still ask you, why are you coming into Tanzania? In fact, sometimes there's a special queue for Kenyans going into Tanzania, for example.
Let's flip it.
Yeah.
Tanzanians and Ugandans coming into Kenya, are they treated the same, or do they just walk in?
Well, it's easier to come into Kenya. That's a fact. There is less questions, there is easier access, which I personally support, and I'll tell you why. One, I'm a Pan-Africanist, but two, we need to really make business between the East African countries, and indeed, Africa be as easy as possible. In fact, many months I worked in Ghana, and it was very easy to get to Ghana, and it's the reason why it's a darling to many places. But there's also always the need to have a process to make sure that it is not Osama bin Laden who's coming into your country.
But yeah, true. And also, I agree what you're saying about the free movement. That is fine. You can move across the borders for the trade. Even in Europe, they move across borders to other countries. But you're given limited time. We need to know what business you're coming to do. And then you expire, you have to get out, come back in. But it seems you can come in. And then when we say corruption corrupts everything and everywhere, it's not just the milk you drink that you don't have a guarantee. It's milk. But people can come to this country, can get an ID, can get a passport because of corruption. So, and that doesn't happen out there in the diaspora. So we feel very concerned that yes, there's free movement, but you cannot register to vote. Get ideas to register to vote, and then we say, we made an error in the census. These people should be more, this one should be less. We feel like people are preparing to rig the election.
Okay, let me ask a question.
I'm sorry if I'm punching too hard.
No.
Punch a little harder.
This is the situation.
I feel very free. Speak your mind.
Yes.
You want me to speak my mind?
Yes.
Will I be abducted?
Well, that isn't within our purview. We certainly won't abduct you.
Yes. For the only abduction we do is 1 hour at a time, and we abduct you via a proverb.
Yes, exactly.
So go ahead.
You see, the question I'm asking is, at what point in our history were our borders not porous? When? In the history of this country? Because I talk about porous borders. When were our borders not porous?
Siti, your question is double-edged in the sense that the porosity of our borders and the identification of foreigners within our borders are two different issues.
Correct.
Yes. When people come into the country illegally, it is another legal issue to deal with. When people, for example, let me talk about Busia, for example. If a Ugandan from Busia is able to get an Kenyan ID simply because there's not vetting, those are two different issues. They may seem similar, but in the eyes of the law, they are very different, because if I am Ugandan and I'm able to get a Ugandan ID and then I come get a Kenyan ID, I've got dual citizenship. There are many other legal implications. So it may seem like the same conversation, but it's not.
To you, it doesn't. But in all honesty, is it really a different conversation?
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is. It is significantly different, and it is significantly different. I'm acting like I'm a guest, but it's significantly different because I'll let you answer. Because when you get an ID, you can vote, for example. You can open a bank account in certain situations. While if you come in illegally, you can't do those things. But I am not the guest.
Yes, you can come to trade, identify yourself as from Uganda, and then you come in, you do your trade, and you get out. But now we don't have a proper way. These people, they're coming in, and then they can stay longer. Then they say, "Oh, I can even get an ID. I can be." That is not normal.
In this region, we house some of the biggest refugee camps, and Kenyans don't live in those refugee camps. It's our neighbors and people who come probably from this continent, and those numbers are not actually decreasing. The very thing that we seem to be saying we want to protect ourselves against people coming in and causing instability, these people come in because of the complete opposite, because they feel this country is stable.
Well, I mean, and beyond that, feeling that it's stable, then the president has gone ahead and said, well, then, you know what? It's all right. You can actually come in, whether you felt it was stable or not.
Yes.
If you're presented with an opportunity.
Yes.
And is that a fear that we're talking about now?
Yeah.
Yesterday, the president at the border said, you know what? It is all right. We're going to remove the vetting cap. Come in, get an ID. Now, his intent, from what you're seeing, it may be totally different.
Yes.
However, why is that a scary thought to embrace?
Because now, when somebody has an ID, they can go to Kenyatta Market, they can open a business to sew clothes and compete directly with the people who do there. They can take up jobs, they can open a shop. And that kind of thing. We don't have systems in place that you're coming in to do some trading and then you're leaving. But you can't come, then get an ID and stay here. We don't know how much our country can hold. Like I'm seeing that it's getting more crowded, and how much it can support all this. But it's not regulated. We also don't know who's coming in. We need to have femicides where people are chopped up. We're seeing things we've never seen before.
Yeah. We're going to take a break in a bit, but let me ask you this, Comfort, is that a lot of the Kenyans who live in the diaspora live in societies where governance then takes sort of a citizen-centric approach, whereby citizens are involved in the government down to the very lowest level, that you can talk to your council, chair, you can talk to you can walk into the office and say, hey, this is not going the way in which we had been told that it was going to go. You have regular weekly sometimes ward meetings where you're down to, because the equivalent of an MCA is talking to the neighborhood about plans and achievements and things like that. This is reality.
That's reality.
Why do we see that can't happen on this side?
Yeah, I feel 5 years is too long for somebody to play around 4 years. The last year they start campaigning and take it. We should have that. If we could amend the constitution, we should have a midterm where we actually check how our MP did and how, or even have a platform where we are communicating directly. We're seeing what they're doing with the money, what they did today, because we have that in the diaspora. We know exactly what is planned for the small region you're in and wherever you are. Some transparency, some accountability, some feedback. We give them feedback what they're doing, where they need to correct. We don't have that. Here, in fact, I think the MPs are busy going for meetings everywhere. The president is, wherever there's action, they hardly go back home now because of political issues. There's a lot going on, and people are not feeling represented here. And it's going to take 5 years.
It's going to take 5 years to do that and get that done. All right, we're having a conversation this hour, and Comfort Mwangi is our guest this hour, and we're talking about, so Kenyans who live in the diaspora and what they feel about the happenings within the borders, and questions in terms of what you can do about it. If there's something that you see that makes you uncomfortable, coming together in unity, whether it's in diaspora or within the country, how will we go about that? Let me remind you that if you run a business and you're thinking about the ways in which you can make payments happen seamlessly, Virtual FX is the platform that you want to use. Running a business in Kenya, especially when you're working across borders, can be a real headache, isn't it? Slow payments, high fees, banks limiting how much you can move, and constantly worrying about exchange rates. Well, it can feel like you're, losing money. It can feel as though every time you make a transaction, something goes out to the bank. Well, take Virtual FX, for example. You can get into a system where you're making international payments across 190 different countries in 49 different currencies, and your downtime in terms of your lead time in terms of making these payments is very quick. There are no hidden charges and no exorbitant charges either, and it's across countries in a time that will actually wow you. You have the added piece of knowing that your transactions are secure. You want to know how you can make these payments business to business? Log on to www.virtualfx.com and sign up now.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
There's something magical about finding the place you call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make life special. At DTB, we understand that a home is not just an address. It's the place where you build your life. With an interest rate as low as 9% and up to 105% financing, own your dream home with DTB. Apply for your home loan today via email on mortgages@dtbafrica.com, call us on 0110-708-297 or 0110-629-015, or visit any of our branches for more details. DTB. Bank with us. Bank on us.
iPhone 16 worry-free.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Judiciary is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Judiciary combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere.
Conditions in Nairobi this morning, 18 degrees. We'll see highs of 26 and highs of 28 and a sunny. Nakuru at 17, 16 and sunny in Nyeri with highs of 26, and at 15 sunny in Eldoret with highs of 27. It's mostly sunny at 26 in Mombasa, going to highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in a mostly sunny Malindi at 27. It's sunny at 23 in Kisumu with highs of 31, while at 23 it's sunny in Kakamega, going to highs of 32. Kampala is sunny at 23, while in Dar es Salaam at 28 it's partly sunny, 19 and fairly sunny in Johannesburg, while at 28 it's sunny in Mogadishu, it's 18 and sunny in Addis Ababa, 27 and mostly clear in Lagos, while Kinshasa at 23 is cloudy, going to highs of 31. right, a quick look at what's going on traffic right now. Friday morning usually is not too crazy, but we're seeing quite some movement as you're coming in on the Thika Superhighway heading into the CBD, but nothing too painful at the moment. It seems to have reduced significantly, and I think we'll be fine getting in through those parts. Okay, traffic now has been, whittled down to just past Survey. Kiambu Road traffic, more or less a thing of 8 o'clock, and that has reduced as well. As you're coming off of Wairimu Way into the CBD out from Westlands, we're all right here as well. Langata Road has a bit of traffic. It's going to go through towards Raila Odinga Way, which is starting to build up as you approach the Nairobi Funeral Home area. And then on Aerodrome, we have some heavy traffic as you approach Uhuru Highway. Keeping an eye on all of this. Let's keep things moving, folks. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning.
Noru Mwangi is our guest this hour at 21 minutes to 9 o'clock. And looking at conversations around, or rather involving ourselves in conversations around the Kenyan diaspora and what the feeling is about what's going on in the country. And we've talked about certain things. And, a lot of times we lament about things that are happening, and we're trying to go towards a solution-oriented thinking or solution-oriented conversation, that I can look at something and I can hear the dog barking, but am I actually going to go and look for what is causing the problem and how can I fix it? If there's a hole in the fence and the dog is barking because somebody's trying to stick their foot in it, am I going to go fix the hole? Well, likely, because I've heard the dog bark. So the dogs are barking. Right? And so what are alternatives then for this governance that we see that may have an issue here or there? What are we saying could be possible solutions?
I think one of the solutions, like I said, was to downsize. And then, like in another channel, I talked about Texas being the size of Kenya, and it's run by only one governor, and these are 31 million people, one governor. He does not take the cars home. He has 2 cars only, official cars. He drives to work with his car. This is somebody governing 31 million people, just 20 million more than our president.
Just a second.
We have overrepresentation here.
So he drives his own vehicle to work, and then on official duties during the day uses the office vehicle.
Correct.
When he's done with that, he leaves it at the office and then takes his car back home.
And there's only one governor house, not 12 state houses. State lodges being renovated all the time. Helicopters being bought. SUVs going to open boreholes or something in that direction. And then you have all those MPs, all those senators. Then we have police. Then we still have the chiefs, assistant chiefs. We still need to pay all those people. We are over supervisors, individuals here in Kenya. And we are paying them out of our pocket. Yet people cannot feed themselves. So I feel that kind of governance is not working. And I also talked about how the Europeans, the Wazungus, took care of this issue. They drew boundaries. They fought and said, hey, you speak Spanish, we're drawing the line up to here. Italy is there, Greece is there, and so on.
Well, they may have done it in Europe, but they did a pretty shoddy job in Africa.
They did it on purpose so that you can never unite. So you see, you have people in Ethiopia who are your relatives, or in Uganda. And then when one area fought too much, Yugoslavia, they all went in and helped them split. Serbia, and they help them out there. And then even in the US, we have the red states and the blue states. We have that. But now here we're broken down to counties, where you have Aluya, Giriama. Everybody has their little government. So the small tribes, what do? I feel so sad when you just talk, now it's Mulembe, they've got the numbers. Let's combine with that one. Let's open up. Let's give this one's ID. We need all these numbers. That kind of mindset will not take us to the year 2030 and so on. We're on the wrong trajectory, that's what I'm saying.
Consider for a second that the countries you refer to had the processes that they went through to get to where they are.
Yeah.
And that what you're describing is the process we are going through to get to where we want to go. Because the idea of who comprises or what constitutes a leader on this continent is very different from the countries that you refer to. And the way in which we relate to our leadership, I'm referring to political here, is very different from the way the people in the West. My question, are you then suggesting that we should relate to our leaders the way people in the West relate to their leaders?
Yeah, the world has opened up. People are moving. People are seeing real time what's happening here. I cannot be in Europe and not be grabbed off the street and found dead with my hands tied up and my lungs full of water, drowning. And people make noise and it still continues. We're seeing it. And those people are also so the governance has to reflect. It's becoming a small village. Other people now will say, I can't go to that country, that this happens there. We are opening up and we are starting to question. We have our Gen Zs too in the diaspora. And they're communicating, now they're getting aware. Then they're saying, oh, our mother country, that kind of a thing. Yes, I think we need to reflect what is happening in the world. We can't still have chiefs over here running the country in tribal movements where people are combining to take the resources that we are all contributing as a country. We're all putting the money into that pot. But then we have 2, 3, 4 major tribes. They'll come together. They'll go in. They'll put in all their people in parastatals, all the jobs and everything. Put all the resources to fix the roads in those areas. That's how we see it. And that cannot continue. We would like to change the model to a corporate business. You can be fired, you can go to jail. That doesn't happen.
If you're talking about an ideal situation, what you say makes sense. But even people in these so-called big tribes, when you talk to them, that development you're speaking of, they'll tell you they have not seen it. If you're talking about people, the difference is places that have never seen roads that we refer to as good roads. And some will tell you, even these roads that you say that we have in our country, and yet we're a big community, we don't actually see them. But you see, what I find strange, though, is sometimes we heap, and in this country we do that a great deal, we heap blame on the executive for seeking to control and probably controlling the other two arms of government. How is it their fault exactly?
Well, we have devolution. We have devolution, and the money that was going to the devolved counties.
Yes.
The executive went and chopped like 38 billion with the support of the senators. They all raised their hand, just take a chunk. Then they're complaining that they can't pay the debts and all that stuff. It is so corrupt. The whole thing is corrupt. It's Africanized, maybe if you want to say that. I don't know what it is.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
It's something that is not sustainable.
Comfort, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. The executive, if you now live in America, you see the executive that mirrors our own executives here are in power. Most executives across the world pretend that they are not that way inclined. And the so-called founding fathers of those nations understood what could happen if somebody doesn't have checks and balances. That's why they brought about constitutions and checks and balances, and even this idea of arms of government for that very, very purpose. The independence is given to these arms of government through the Constitution. It's there, it's yours.
Yes.
You can do it as you see fit. Now, when you sell it down the tube, or when you decide that you will allow someone to influence it, if we're to point fingers, who should we point a finger at?
Well, look at when we're doing elections there's a limit you can give somebody
in this country.
No, I'm saying now, I'm telling you that
Yes.
these are things we need to adopt. Even when Mr. Trump, President Trump, our president, when he came in, he has to stop all his businesses, put them aside. He can't do business.
So we're told.
But we have, we don't have it. We have our president who is almost even running hair salons in that. He's in the hotel business, he's in the catering, he's in the insurance, he's all that. When does he have time to run the country?
Everybody is in those businesses.
Yes, but
there is no president in this country who has not run.
We only have one president in this country. I'm just saying that if we have democracy, we have the check and balances you're talking about.
Yes.
Remove the money, focus on the work, because you cannot do that. You cannot run a country at the same time. It's a conflict of interest. That's why they're going to put people who will work with you for the tenders, people who do this, move around for you. It's a mess.
The point you make is a valid one. But let me perhaps simplify what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that what you're saying is true. And the checks and balances should be there. and they were there, even when it comes to election spending. When the Uhuru government came in, that is one of the first things they got rid of. It was there. We had, the constitution took care of many of these things.
Yeah.
It was gotten rid of. We had an ethics and morality section of our constitution that was, if applied, guaranteed the very things you're saying. You muck around with funds you're dealt with. That same government of Uhuru made sure that it was so watered down, you can hardly do anything with it. And any attempt you make. Now, this government seems to just be taking advantage of what already exists and probably adding a little bit of their own. I am not saying that these things are good. I am saying we have a constitution that has given citizens the ability to elect their leaders.
Correct.
We have a constitution that has allowed us to have 3 arms of government which are independent. The constitution has given us independent institutions that are supposed to bring about a check and balance. Now, yet we have a situation where the executive still reigns supreme. I'm asking the question, why is the executive being blamed?
You know, it's a good question. Executives across the world want to influence and overreach.
Dominate.
Yes. That is the nature of executive power. And I think what we're talking about here is that the Kenyan people, diaspora or not, are saying that we, the people, which is the most important part of any constitution, is we, the people, are sovereign, and we are saying certain things that are not kosher for us. And the question we must really ask, and this is the question I'm going to ask, is number one, how can we empower the people? Right? And I'm talking about the Gen Zs, the young people. I'm talking about the older people, non-retirees like CT. Right?
I hear you.
Then how can we bridge this gap? I think that's what I would like to hear. How do you bridge this gap? Because there's so much complaining, there's so much pain. How do you bridge the gap?
Yeah, first of all, I'm an educator. I'm into technology. I've been to MIT for AI, and AI might be the solution, not the problem.
How so?
And I'm going to go into that. But as you're talking about the Constitution from 2010, we have the beauty of learning all these things that we've learned in the last 10 years to now 13 years from this Constitution. We have amendments. Now is when we need to sit back and all this rot and interrogate how we got here. We say, okay, now we need to have the 2-term, midterms, that kind of a thing. We need to remove money when you're coming into government to govern. We need to have you reach a certain academic level. We need to background check what you can do. Those are things we can do when we now sit down and do the amendments to this Constitution. Now, going back, being an educator, and I've seen the situation here about the jobs and the youth, who are almost 70%. And they're all very tech savvy because I know how they're able to manipulate AI and drive the president and other people crazy. But we should not fear AI because it's going to first take away a lot of jobs. The jobs we don't have are going to go, but it's going to change the form. It's going to come back in a different form. Just the way we didn't have combined harvesters, but we had people harvesting, but it didn't become a problem. So I saw one of your guests here talking about agriculture and sending 1.5 million goats to the UEA. We have, maybe you saw it, that the president signed 200,000 acres off and gave to the UEA.
The UAE?
Yeah, UAE.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Gave. Yes.
The Gulana.
Gulana Kulalu.
It happened.
What do you mean gave?
Listed for 99 years. Okay. And I was saying that there is now that the trade balance is crazy because the UAE, they give us petroleum, they give us, that's what we get from them. But we send so many goats like you had, food and all that. Now, if we give them the 99,000, the 200,000 acres for 99 years, they'll come and take over agriculture sector. sector.
Surely
it will be gone.
The agricultural potential of Kenya is slightly more than 200,000
You're
acres.
such an optimist. I'm saying, so you're okay with 200,000 acres going to the people who we send our product?
Don't we have to look at it in totality, though, in terms of that agreement that was made between Kenya and the UAE?
Yes.
In the sense that the trade gates essentially would be opened. That if they were going to use that... I was going to call it a parcel of land, but maybe 200,000 acres, a little bit more than a parcel, right? But that was what best practice was going to be used to then adopt for Kenya after some time.
To give it perspective, it's 200,000 acres being leased at $800 million by Al Dahra or something like that from the UAE, and it's expected to bolster Kenya's food security. It's expected to have a positive impact. At the same time, there's supposed to be a dam being built. So on the surface, it looks like a good thing for Kenya.
It is all part of the whole Kenya UAE deal.
I beg to differ because this is our land. We have youth here who don't have a job, but we're bringing other people here to farm on our land and then sell it to us, and then we're very happy about that because we eat the food. That thinking is done that is going to mess us up. I was going back to the AI. If the youth could understand that agriculture could be a solution, make it, sexy, make it attractive, there are lots of billions to be earned there. And using technology, using the drones to map up the areas, the fertilizer, the Internet of Things.
What makes you think the youth are interested in agriculture?
Why? Because they've not been presented properly. They're all looking for jobs. They want paper job to work in an office.
By the time you've gone to school and you've acquired even...
You are captured completely by the Muzungu.
The very basics of education. Very many Kenyans have land. It may be small, but they have land. The bulk of people who are farmers in this country are what you call subsistence farmers. And the age group of people who used to farm, people my age, we are a dying species. Okay? We will soon be extinct. The majority whom we speak about, the youth, if in their numbers they were interested in farming, this farming we refer to as, what name did I give it?
Subsistence.
Yes. One could see a great deal because many of them actually have the knowledge. I don't see that big an interest in young people in farming in the country.
Then we make them get interested. Let me talk about Tanzania, the president there.
Yes.
Magufuli began that program for the youth, betterment of the youth. It's actually based on agriculture. It's providing almost 10 million jobs for the youth. These are the youth. I think it's good to have a woman as a president who think that way. What Tanzania did was, listen, hold on.
We've heard you.
What Tanzania did was, what she did now is that they provided 700,000 acres from the government, gave the youth pieces, provided the seeds, provided the funding, the agriculture. And now these youth are able to now not only sell the food back to the government, make money, solve the what do you call the food shortage in Tanzania.
It's called food security.
Food security. But then now, those youth can even marry. Here, the youth they can't even marry. They can have a home. They have an income, 10 million. From the soil we have there. What are we doing here in Kenya? We're listening so that people can come and work on it, and then they can
take the money back out of the country.
If I take the view,
and then they just keep looking for a paper job.
If I take the view that your views are somewhat representative of people in the diaspora, let me ask a direct question. The diaspora remittance places us fifth on this continent when it comes to the countries that actually remit money back, which means a great deal of money. Are people in the diaspora willing to support a president of their choice to vie for an election here? Someone who meets the qualities that...
Rally around a particular candidate, for example.
People who... We are told by diaspora the sort of things we need to have, the view we need to have. Is it possible for them to support? Because all this money coming in, can they support a candidate, somebody who represents these values that they speak of?
The money coming in is not that we put it all together and say, oh, now we've got the 680 billion that we put it together. No. It is me sending money for your toothache, somebody sending money for unga. It's not there. But the investments that we have, as investors, we're also going to pull out because of taxes, the same reasons the other investors are taking off from. So that remittances may shrink if we continue having this governance. But the other one of somebody calling, I need unga, I need school fees, I need to go to the hospital because of shisha not working.
May I see the opposite happening?
That one will remain
with
there.
The current president you guys have in the States, you're going to come back.
She's not in the Gaza Strip.
That one is going to actually
or Greenland.
Or Greenland.
Or Canada.
The Gulf of Kenya. It's going to be a nice 4 years.
Do you see that though? Because that's the thing. Again, if we're going to point, really quickly in the direction of, solution-oriented conversations that I think need to take root and need to be the star of anything that we do moving forward. And that is rooted in the people who essentially will lead.
Yes.
There needs to be unity around then that kind of person or those persons. How will that happen? And we have to be asking that kind of question.
Because it's down to money. I ran for office and know money. It was very difficult. You can hardly talk. They just want money. Money. So if you want to get many people, then you start stealing more money so you can give it to them the next round. That's how it happens. Because they want crazy money. But we need to change that conversation. Like I'm saying, if we take the best practices from those countries, Rwanda, Singapore, and UAE here, and run it as a corporation, we'll be busy doing our other businesses there with a functioning government. But now we have education, nobody's focusing, we don't have experts. Our CSs are not experts in what they're doing. They're just not. They're just the right tribe. They're not experts.
Maybe they're experts in that tribe.
They really are not.
Then there are things that we need to...
somebody, the Minister of Agriculture, they've never even planted one seed in the ground.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because I I'm a political nerd. I check. If you made the Minister of Health, the former Minister of Health did an online something, I don't know, from Turkey, maybe a printout of a certificate. I don't know where they get it.
Hey, my good friend Mutai Kagwe, how many seeds have you planted? And
all right.
To find out.
These are the conversations that we should have. Bring up some of these. Absolutely. Comfort Munoru Mwangi, a political commentator, has been our guest this hour. Just looking at what the thoughts from around are and how we should actually bring out some of these conversations. Thank you for being here this morning. Good morning. Conversations continue with Dear Mr. President after this. It's 9 a.m.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga are scheduled to share a podium today at the ongoing Nyanza International Investment Conference in Kisumu. This comes months after Ruto included Odinga's allies in his cabinet as part of efforts to prop up his shaky hustler government that continues to attract widespread criticism. Meanwhile, Ruto continues to defend his agenda, asserting that he knows what he's doing. Speaking on Thursday in Garissa County as his tour of the northeastern region wound down, he dismissed his critics once again, saying most of them have little or no education.
Na mkiona wale wanalalamika ni watu sijui wamesomea wapi. Si mimi niko na PhD. Si mimi naelewa nini naelewa Kenya. Sasa mimi napata watu wengine wako na elimu kidogo wanajaribu kunifundisha. Mnanifundisha kazi gani?
The three-day Nyanza International Investment Conference, which began on Thursday, aims to unlock investment opportunities worth 134 billion shillings across various sectors. The 6 Nyanza counties, that is Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii and Nyamira, are aiming to secure deals from local and international investors. Coast Guard officers at Sumba Station in Budalangi, Busia County have arrested 2 Uganda People's Defence Forces officers, Richard Amriam and Michael Musila, who were armed with AK-47 rifles, allegedly targeted and harassed Kenyan fishermen operating in Lake Victoria. Some of the fishermen told journalists what happened.
Mimi vile jeshi hao wameshikwa, si pia tunataka wapeleke huko mbele, pia wafungwe tu, ili wengine wabaki wakijua ati pia sisi ni binadamu kama jua. Watu wakitushika watuchukui kama binadamu, wanachukua kama sisi ni nyoka.
Askari wetu wamefanya vizuri kushika hao, kwa sababu wakitushika wanasema maskari wetu wanalala, wanakunywa pombe, wanalala na wanatuchapa. Kama mimi walichukua simu yangu wakatupa kwa maji.
Sheria izingatiwe. There's no need mtu anatoka huko Uganda anakimbia hadi afike huku Kenya hapa juu kwa mainland achukue mtu na arudi naye huko. Hiyo haitatusaidia.
Akanirudisha kwa poti yao, akaanza kunipiga. Amenipiga slap 2 na bunduki, akanichapa naye nyuma ya bunduki mara 3 hapo kwa kifua. Sasa mimi kwa hali yangu vile naona heri wapeleke, kwa sababu wao pia wanatutesa.
The county government of Kitui is constructing 8 police stations as part of ongoing efforts to enhance security in border areas. The county chief officer for decentralized units, Stephen Kitonga, who presided over the official site handover for one of the stations, said the facilities are expected to provide a lasting solution to insecurity and improve law enforcement operations in the region.
Kwa hapa kwa Kamari, tukianzisha ujenzi wa police station ya kwa Kamari police station. Hii ni mojawapo ya zile police station gavana wetu His Excellency Julius Makau Malombe anajenga ili kuimarisha usalama kati ya mpaka wetu na Tana River County ambako kumekuwa na shida, na akaamua jenge police station 8 kila ward ambayo inapakana na Tana River County, ambazo zinachukua zaidi ya milioni 20, na contractors wanaanza leo na tunatarajia wamalize in about 3 months or so ziwe zimeisha.
Prime CS Musalia Mudavadi is due to co-chair a joint ministerial meeting of the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community, or SADC, today. The meeting, taking place in Tanzania, aims to address the security situation and ongoing conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The meeting comes a day before a joint summit of the heads of state and government of the EAC and SADC member states, co-chaired by President William Ruto. Mudavadi said they hope to develop a unified regional strategy to support the DRC in achieving lasting peace, security and development. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
You should be on the go like me with Delamere yogurt. It's real pieces of fruit if you're taking the strawberry. It's real vanilla pods if you're having the vanilla flavor. It is actually real pieces of lemon and biscuit if you're having that one. And real pear caramel if you're having like what I had this morning for my breakfast on the go. I have had my moment today. When are you going to have yours? You can pick up a cup of Delamere yogurt at any outlet around the country and enjoy those moments when you take a stop or when you need that much needed nutrition with real fruits and real ingredients when you need them with Delamere Premium. We're into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation for this week, and thank you for keeping it here on our live streams on YouTube and on Facebook and on X and our audiences on KTN. Now, if you're going into the weekend and you're thinking, okay, what are my plans for the future? And one of those is a mortgage. CT has the tea.
I do actually. Life sometimes can be simpler than you think. Mm-hmm. If we didn't have Diamond Trust Bank making this offer, who knows? But they are. And they're making an offer and they're saying, look, we at Diamond Trust have a solution that you may like. We are saying that if you're thinking of a mortgage, don't just let it be a thought.
Yeah.
Let us help you make it a reality. Come to us. This is what we're telling you. We will offer you a mortgage just based on your financials, what you can afford, what you have. We'll advise you on what to do, how to go about it. And then we'll give you details. And some of those details are, we'll tell you, look, it doesn't matter whether you're employed, whether you in business, whether you are in the diaspora. If you happen to live in this country, employed, business, we offer you up to 105%. 105. Diaspora, 80%. We don't stop there. We don't have any of these hidden charges. We don't have any penalties if you pay early. That's not us. But we have partnered with Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, and this is what it does for us. It enables us to give you a mortgage at a steady interest of 9%. It doesn't move. Whether changes, same. Whether not changes, same. 9% for 10 years, 9.75 for 25 years. Now, if you feel you would like to know more, really excellent, go to a Diamond Trust branch nearest to you, or simply email mortgages@dtbafrica.com. That's it. Really quite simple.
Fantastic. Yes. And now when you're talking about your businesses, and so you run a business here in Kenya and you're traveling to Tanzania, or rather you're doing business with Mark, who is in Tanzania, and he sells sunflower oil, and we need it here for our catering business. And oftentimes we ask ourselves, okay, so the supply is happening, but I need to pay Mark. I need to pay Mark suppliers to send this oil to me. Sometimes I need, and he needs to see that payment before he sends it, right? You need to be sure that the payment has reached you so that you can now send the stuff to me here in Nairobi. Yes. And oftentimes, okay, well, I don't have downtime of 3 days. I cannot. What are we going to do? It's taking too long. And I'm here saying, okay, well, the traditional way of me sending this money is difficult. It costs too much. There are other charges that I can't deal with. You're not going to receive the money till maybe Wednesday next week, and I need that supply for a lot of my weekend orders. What are we going to do? Well, the folks at Virto FX are saying we are the ones that you need to talk to. Virto has completely changed the game for businesses dealing with cross-border payments. Imagine sending money around the world in minutes, not days, right? Imagine that you have better exchange rates, that you don't have to worry, okay, so we're going from Kenya shilling, Tanzania shilling, or Kenya shilling to dollar. Around 190 plus countries around the world, 49 different currencies. It does it for you without you even having to think about how it's done. It's trusted for businesses worldwide, from SMEs to large enterprises, giving you fast 1, secure 2, and cost-effective 3 payments without the banking red tape. So whether you're an SME or an importer or an exporter or a financial professional, Virto makes it easy to manage your international payments fast, secure, and with full transparency. What you need to do is log on to www.virtofx.com and find out how you can start to make those easy payments today as your businesses continue to flourish. That's what we're talking about. Get into the business, log on today and find out what's going on. All right. It's Friday, it's 9 a.m. and it's an opportunity for you to talk to your president. I'm going to give you the number right off the bat. So as you start to marinate what those questions are and you start to marinate what those thoughts are, it's 0719-012-600. Let's start off with one thing, shall we? Yesterday, the president was in day 2 of his tour of Northeastern, and he came out speaking in a manner in which many wondered, who is this and what is it that he's saying? Dear Mr. President, the words that you spoke to the country yesterday about those who might criticize the programs or the suggestions that you make about certain things was not very welcoming, dear Mr. President. Kenyans do feel as though the manner in which you spoke to them did sound like you were a bit angry. And one would wonder, where is the anger coming from? You did tell people yesterday, dear Mr. President, that you know a lot more than they do by virtue of the fact that, you're at PhD level with a lot of these agricultural and agricultural initiatives. But people felt, though, that at the time that you were asking for their vote, this was not the tone that you used. And so the question is, what's the problem? Why is it so difficult to speak to Kenyans in a manner in which they would be able to, take it more and it would sound a lot more palatable to them? That the anger and the tone in which you spoke, dear Mr. President, did not work for them. even as we get into that conversation, which I'm sure we will, because I know that Mark would want to add his voice to that. Dear Mr. President, I must remind you that there's still 15 billion shillings left to send out in capitation. While we must acknowledge that a total of 33 billion shilling has been sent so far, 15 billion shillings is still pending. And we're just 3 weeks shy of midterm for the first term of 2025-2026, the school year. So, dear Mr. President, that is just a reminder. Dear Mr. President, just a week ago, members of parliament were up in arms and they said that the system that is delivering Taifa care needs to be looked at. Members of parliament who make the law, who represent the people, and who also oversight keep in check the excesses, or rather the behavior of other arms of government. The question is today that what will happen to this system that is supposed to be caring for the sick of Kenya? That why is it that 6 months, 5 months down the line that we've still not been able to get it right? Dear Mr. President, the questions are piling and folks want to understand exactly what is going on. Mark?
Dear Dr. President, yes, it is true. You are one of the most educated presidents in this country. And you're one of the most educated presidents in Africa. Yes, it is true that your doctorate is in science, a field which many of us hold in high esteem. Indeed, Dr. President, it is true that you're one of the most successful politicians Kenya has ever seen. It is true you've never lost an election upon which your name was on the ballot. It is true, Mr. President, Dr. President, that your intelligence is unquestionable. In fact, those of us who have followed your career have been impressed many a time at your ability to campaign, your ability to articulate issues, and your ability to run the political course and deliver political victory to President Uhuru 2013-2017 and deliver to yourself political victory in 2022, despite what many might have considered very high stakes. Indeed, Mr. President, I would like to commend you and tell you that indeed you've lived a very extraordinary life. And it's on that point of extraordinary, Mr. President, Dr. President, allow me, that I would like to speak to you about a little matter. Extra just means a little bit more. Ordinary means average. Mr. President, Dr. President, I'm not asking for big changes. I'm joining the rest of Kenyans in asking for just a little bit above the ordinary. A little bit of a fight against corruption, a little bit of streamlining the shisha, a little bit of an explanation on the vaccination drive, because, Mr. President, we understand I've kept chickens and we have to give them vaccines, otherwise they'll die in 2 weeks. So what we would like, Mr. President, is just as your career has been extraordinary, your education extraordinary, your rise to office extraordinary, we will not give you so much stress. We will ask, dear Mr. President, Dr. President, just make everything in government as extraordinary as you are, my good sir.
Dear Mr. President, today we have a little overcast in Nairobi, and I commend you for doing something that no president in the history of this country has ever done. You haven't made a lightning visit to the northern part of the country. You've actually stayed there for 4 days. This has never, ever been done. And part of the narrative of marginalization that the region has voiced over and over has had to do with development, yes, but has to do with the complete absence or lack of attention that presidents before you have given the region, except perhaps at times when they're quoting their votes. It stands to reason that the decisions that are made by you on behalf of the citizens of Kenya are decisions that are thought out and I dare say meant to be for the welfare of the citizens. Mr. President, it would be a wonderful thing if the citizens knew exactly what your plans are in detail and what it is you expect and how it is we would benefit. But Mr. President, you can't be the only one alone who tells us these things. You have ministers, you have PSs, you have directors of departments, you have advisors, you have a whole slew of people who can do beyond the things that you have said. They can ensure that not only do we hear them, but we also get to understand them. All the issues that keep coming up and keep being brought to your desk, when we in the Situation Room point to the things that this government has done, we wonder why it is that all these people who work for the executive do not do the same. Because then what remains is the things that are glaring and the things that we find bothersome, like the abductions, the things that we find glaring and bothersome as capitation that hasn't been sent, the things that are glaring as debts and people losing their jobs, businesses closing down. Yet there's a lot more that could be said about what is being done to alleviate these things. Dear Mr. President, communication is a multi-pronged affair, and the need for people to understand in detail what it is that is going on and how it is that they can benefit lies at your doorstep because you're the chief executive, but you're a chief executive who has many assistants who can ensure that these things get to the lowest common denominator, the simplest mwananchi in the furthest part of this country. Dear Mr. President, I don't believe that this is too much to ask. It is very much within your purview and it's very much within your capacity.
Do you think that even as we speak today about some of these things that are clearly in the open, that would Kenyans be doing a disservice to the executive if they did not speak out about some of the things that they did, that they see? Would it be a disservice?
If they kept quiet.
If they kept quiet.
Huge.
How so?
When you are a leader, that particular position and the term we use has no meaning whatsoever if there are no people being led. If it's an executive of a business, there are employees and people with whom you work, your co-workers. If it is political leadership, then you have constituents, people who elect you, people who vote for you. And in the absence of these people, one, you wouldn't have that position because there'd be no one to elect you, and two, there'd be no one for you to lead. It's a symbiotic relationship that must be honored. And when it isn't honored, then things begin to fall apart. And what we hear and see as complaints by the citizenry, some of it being termed as noise, that is a response and it's communication of how it is that whatever else is happening is resonating with them. The noises, the protests, that is speech in that particular form. You are being told with great clarity what it is that people think and how they feel. And if they didn't tell you that, how then would you know whether what it is that you are supposed to be doing for them and on their behalf is resonating with them? How then would you know whether it's actually working? How then would you actually know beyond what you are told by those who work with you? How else will you know the state of the very nation that you govern over?
City, you're a student of history.
Yes.
Today morning I was asking myself, have the people of Kenya ever been wrong?
Yes, we've been wrong on many occasions.
No. Let me explain. When the people speak about political issues in one voice, not in the vote, usually it's in between. It's between 1988 elections and 1992. It's between 2002 and 1997. In fact, let me say this. When people demonstrate, have the Kenyan people been wrong for the purpose for which they demonstrate?
No, they haven't.
It's interesting. The Kenyan people, throughout their history, whenever they demonstrate for political rights, they have been right.
One, they have been patient.
Yes.
They have waited. They have spoken. They have tried to speak through the leaders they have elected. And when they get to a point where they feel that there is no progress being made, they have moved out themselves and said, look, this is what we think.
And therefore, today, as we sit here, this country is on the verge of being right. All it takes is for the people who move the wheels of government to listen to the people who are right. It's not rocket science.
It isn't. Looking at some of the comments that are coming in this morning, dear Mr. President, indeed you are learned, but wisdom comes from God. Be humble and seek God. Tuflani says, does anyone find it strange that we have to plead to have him do the right thing? Does it feel odd that we have to pretend that people are not being abducted and killed? What happened to righteous rebuke? My prince says, dear Mr. President, how do you feel leading a country where nearly half of the population cannot afford basic needs like food, clean water, health and education? How do you feel, Mr. President? The only lacking thing was power. After gaining power, there was nothing after that. The PhD is even contested. Kenya isn't for trial and error projects or an ego boost. It's actually about development. Dear Mr. President, please release the audit books. Let us actually know what is going on. The old adage goes that you can't reinvent the wheel. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. Had wisdom in any of those sayings, many sectors had the semblance of working, but nothing is working. Education sector is dying off. Dear Mr. President, your people are speaking. I think that even as we do look at a lot of the things that need to be sorted out, when we look at some of the things that actually have been sorted out, they pale in comparison to some of these matters, but necessary to look at either way. We see here folks talking about the fact that the electricity bills have gone down. We see that you're paying less for electricity, or rather what you're paying for now, you get more of it. Of course, we're going to go back to the unga, and then people have said, yes, the prices of unga have actually gone down, but that has been the case for a while now. That over and above, Kenyans are feeling that they should have a right to be able to speak to your administration and say, these are the things that we see that have an issue. These are the problems that we face. These are the things that we want you to get better. And I don't think we should actually get tired of saying it. That Kenyans are willing. Basically, it's a verb now. Kenyans are willing you to do better. Kenyans want you to do better. Kenyans want it to be better for them. I actually don't see Kenyans have a problem with a leader in place who's actually doing the right thing over and over again and say, okay, well, this is working. Keep him there, keep her there, and let us continue in this. But unfortunately, there just seems to be too much going wrong in great numbers at the same time, and it seems to be a rolling cycle. And this is what Kenyans have a problem with. I looked at the face of the mother in Nakuru yesterday, who was looking for her son, Odhiambo. And the distraught look on the face of the wife when the court said, actually, you know what, these guys have nothing to answer. The evidence doesn't show us anything. And I looked at her face, and it reminded me of Billy Mwangi's father in court when he said, you know what, I can't find my son. The folks that you've put in the responsibility of security are telling us that they can't find him. But somebody has got to know where he is. If that's the case, what did he do? If he did something wrong, bring him before court and charge him. And then let us know what we're doing beyond that. And the abduction is going to be a sore point for a lot of people, because it seems as though you're getting to the point where you can't say anything freely, because either, number one, you'll be castigated or you'll be disappeared. And getting into that place is actually quite dangerous. People want to be involved in their governance. But if that is what you tell them, or if that is what they're greeted with, what do you think the chances are that they will come back tomorrow and still be involved in the governance?
You know, there's something that happens in this country every Sunday. It's called praise and worship. Okay? When you go to church and you do praise and worship, there's no point where in your praise and worship you correct God. Right? I'm assuming you've gone to church.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. We are together.
All right.
All right. The difference between a church service and public service is if you get praise and worship, you are definitely the devil in public service. If you get praise and worship in church, you're definitely God. Whenever you find someone, CT, has done his show, and everyone after the show is praising CT, let me tell you, soon CT will be Didi. Didi. D-I-D-D-Y.
Okay, that one.
Yes. Whenever people receive too much praise,
you're going to have to do an explainer.
Who's Didi? He's a Johnson & Johnson oil supplier.
Oh, well, otherwise known as a rap artist who's now sitting a scholarship in awaiting trial.
He has received a government scholarship?
Yes.
Has he?
Yes.
But he's not Kenyan.
And he sings?
Yes.
And raps, yes.
And raps.
He used
rap is singing?
He used to be known as Puff Daddy.
That guy?
Yes, that guy.
Oh, his other name is Didi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Puff Daddy, I know that guy.
So, whenever you see people praise someone too much,
why did you just say it was Puff? I would have known.
Forgive me. I need to catch my breath. So, say that part of the reason why bad things happen is when you collect a choir around yourself, you miss the point. When you hear people give you feedback and push you forward, you not only become better, but you also lead better. And there's something that needs to be deconstructed in this country, that just because someone says, Mark, your voice is to this, then they are my enemy. No, this is my first week. Please tell me how to be better. Please tell me how to be better. Because guess what? I've been handsome for over 40 years.
God bless you.
I
don't know how to do
I've
better.
been kind for 40 years. Tell me what to do better, man.
But I get your point.
Yes.
And your example was,
don't doubt my example. My example is excellent.
Smoldering example. So this is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That you can be prescriptive. You can tell me what is wrong, but also we can also tell you what you can do to do better.
Yes.
And this is the thing that we are talking about. That, it's very simple if you ask me. That if you have children who are in school, and constitutionally you're supposed to send them to school. And sending them to school means what? At a subsidized rate. So what do? You take money and you put it in treasury. Okay, you take money from treasury and you put it in the ministry, and the ministry now doles it out to schools. That's what it means. That's essentially what it means that we're saying send children to school. Now, beyond that, you realize the importance of doing so. And so you create a budget, which started in September. The process started. And then you will come and you will hold the briefcase on the steps of, is it Harambee House now or Parliament, or wherever it is they hold the briefcase. And then you will come and tell us how you're going to spend money in the next 1 year. And then after that, you will tell us where you're going to get the money from. That means you have a what? You have a plan. So it riddles me completely when you come to the beginning of the year in January and people are still picking their noses and wondering, okay, what's going to happen and how are these children going to go to school? So when we say that's not being done, it is not criticism. It is fact that children have not gone to school with the capitation that we say they are supposed to go to school with. Meanwhile, you budgeted for it. So when we say that there's a problem here, it is not being facetious. It is not being critical. It is fact. Capitation has not gone to school and you budgeted for the money. Get the money, put it in school so that children can do what? They can go to school. For me, it's very simple, right? If somebody ate the money, somebody stole the money, get it back, put it back, let children go to school. Number two, if we are saying that you made noise, there was a whole consortium that sat. There was a health stakeholders workshop when you were delivering the plan. And you said that this is what we are going to do. Taifa Care is going to do 1, 2, 3. You said that. You told Kenyans, your CS, the current one, told Kenyans that no problem. Once you have paid, you will go to hospital. You will not remove another dime. You will see a doctor. If you need to be treated, you will be treated. You will get up from your bed. Doctor says, go home. You will go home without removing another cent. True, false?
True.
This is what you said. It is not criticism. It is not being critical. It is not saying that anybody must go anywhere. It is what you said you were going to do. So what are we saying? Let the thing work. This is it, Mr. President. That do you need to whip your people up to get them to do it? Then do it. Do you need to make sure that the folks that you've put, the 22 plus people that you've put in cabinet, that they're actually doing their job? If that's what needs to happen, then that's what needs to happen. This is not about emotions or being romantic or saying, please love me. It has nothing to do with that. It is mere fact that capitation has not been sent, that people are going to hospital today, they are not being paid for after they've paid a premium, or that they can't get the full payment. It is the truth. That people said that they have to pay multiple licenses in order to do business. Meanwhile, the singular job of government is to make the environment conducive for things to happen. It is not happening. It is not about emotions or crying or making me feel bad. It is the truth that certain things are not happening in the manner in which they ought to happen. Dear Mr. President, make it happen. That's what Kenyans are saying. Make it happen. Then we can deal with those emotional things later and somebody can buy you flowers. But for now, make it happen, dear Mr. President. It's 2017. Now it's a 10.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
There's something magical about finding the place you call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make life special. At DTB, we understand that a home is not just an address. It's the place where you build your life. With an interest rate as low as 9% and up to 105% financing, own your dream home with DTB. Apply for your home loan today via email on mortgages@dtbafrica.com, call us on 0110 708 297 or 0110 629 015, or visit any of our branches for more details.
Be worry-free.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Judiciary is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Judiciary combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
This new year, discover something new every day on your StarTimes decoder. Buy an aerial decoder plus 1 month free classic subscription at 1,399 shillings to enjoy the magic of African stories on ST Swahili, AMC Movies and ST Nollywood. Or a dish decoder plus 1 month free Super Bouquet subscription at 3,199 shillings only to watch heartwarming dramas that bring you closer on Novella E+, Remo TV Plus and Star Life. Experience the thrill of live sports on La Liga and Bundesliga on ST Sports Premium and ST World Football. Buy your StarTimes decoder today from our business halls countrywide. To renew your subscription today, dial *858# for self-service or call 0730-7100.
Nairobi, it's 18 degrees. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's 19 and sunny in Nakuru and 18 and sunny in Nyeri. 21 and sunny in Eldoret with highs of 27, while Mombasa at 30 is sunny with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, 25 and sunny in Kisumu with highs of 31, when at 25 Kakamega is sunny, we'll go to highs of 32. Kampala at 24 is sunny with highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam at 28 is mostly cloudy with highs of 32. Johannesburg at 20 is sunny with highs of 25, while Mogadishu at 29 is sunny with highs of 31. 19 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 25, while it's a hazy morning in Lagos. At 28, we'll see highs of 33. Kinshasa at 24 is cloudy with highs of 31. -5 in a sunny, windy Beijing going into Friday evening. And it's 3 degrees and cloudy in Paris, 4 and cloudy in London. And New York is 3 and mostly cloudy. Haven't done too badly with traffic this morning. Just a little bit of that left on the Thika Superhighway today as you're getting towards the fork in the road between Wangari Maathai Way and then Murang'a Road. You'll get to some traffic on Kibande Road as you're trying to get into the city this morning, and then out towards Kirinyaga Road. There's some movement there, but then there's a bit of a hold up as well. So like I said, Friday into the weekend usually doesn't bear much in terms of traffic, so yay for that. Kangunda Road, as usual, some traffic as you're trying to get towards the junction on Outer Ring, and that'll go in and outbound on Outer Ring. Quick look at the Eastern Bypass, and that traffic seems to have subsided, and there's some traffic on North Airport Road as you're coming inbound towards Outer Ring. So apart from that, I think we've done pretty well through the day. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on X. Dear Mr. President, and it is 20 minutes to 10 o'clock, still taking your calls, and we'll start taking your calls now as you speak to us. Not to forget, that number is 0719-012-600, and also looking at some of the comments that you leave for us on socials today. We'll look at some of those in just a bit. Just reminding you that number is 0719-012-600. Our live streams are on YouTube, Facebook and on X, and also our audience on KTN. Okay, so just taking some of those comments that you've sent in this morning. Yes, dear Mr. President, we listened to you. Isn't it time that you actually listen to us? It was once claimed that he was the one governing while his boss was doing other things. Today, he claims to have inherited a ruined economy from his boss. Does it mean he has inherited this mess from himself? That's a question coming in from Luke. It's painful. The sooner you realize that, come to terms that in 2022 you voted for Kumi Bila breaks, the better for you. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but that's just the way it is. That's why some of us were very vocal. How do you get leaders who don't need to plead, but who bear the power and the Constitution gives Kenyans and are more compelled to do what is right? How do you do that? Well, many more questions, and we'll start taking your calls in this morning. Good morning. Tell us where you're calling from and what your name is. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Yes, how are you?
How do you do? Well, my name is David.
Yes, David.
I'm calling you from Nairobi, and just speak on this matter. I've been listening to you, and you brought it quite well. And everybody at Spice is really doing the Lord's work, because you've just spoken what millions of Kenyans are thinking. And just to add on to what you're saying, for Ruto, President Ruto, I don't think he's by any means presidential at all, because he equates criticism to stupidity and thinks nobody can disagree with him. For him, it's always about excuses. And one thing that he tries to portray himself as is Lee Kuan Yew from Singapore. But the biggest issue that I have with him is he forgets that of all the greatest things that man did, what he is really remembered for is fighting corruption. If corruption is to be eliminated in this country, a lot of things can happen, but not on Ruto's government. Right now, he does not deal with facts or logic or even accountability. He just wants to waive his certificate, his PhD, which I think for this moment, it probably could mean plunder, hubris, and even death. There is nothing more disturbing than having a man wield such bad characters and have so much power over our country for things that he is doing at the moment, even sacrificing national security just for political expediency is something that is so despicable.
Oh, I think we lost David there. If you can, call back in and we'll try to get you back on the line. But I mean, you were getting onto a point there, and we'll keep taking those calls that are coming in on 0719012600, as well as continuing to take into consideration your comments on socials. It's Dear Mr. President, an opportunity for you to, air what it is that you think. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, tell us your name and where you're calling from this morning.
My name is Joe, calling from.
Yes, Joe. What are your thoughts this morning?
Now, we have a situation where the country actually has lost track. It is easy to destroy systems. It is easy to bring down the economy. But reconstructing those systems is a difficult part. There are some people that our parliament, which is supposed to be the one checking the authority and also systems, and they seem to be aloof with what's going on. They seem actually not to care too. They don't care for the principal person, the person who took him there. And the other day, I saw them in unison saying, Chai is not working. Why can't they make those pronouncements actually in Parliament and censor the minister concerned, and they seem to be taking action rather than doing sideshows? Tomorrow, we might not even have this space to talk about what you're talking about today, because the system is encroaching on the liberty of the people. The system is decapitating all the gains which are being done over time. If we cannot hold parliamentarians or people who can call the president to order or the advisor of the president to order, we might go Congo way. Certain President Mobutu Sese Seko one time was there. He became so rich, and the country actually continued being poor. What was happening in Congo, we can trace all the way back to that time. Tribalism, whatever, everything went there. There's no space. We might not even have this Kenya you're talking about, actually, this, at the rate at which we are losing ground. I think to recover might take 30 years.
Well, I hear you on that.
My position is about pyramid areas that should be called to order.
Thanks for your thoughts on that, Joe. An interesting perspective. Thanks for calling in this morning. We'll take up some more calls this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Sorry, my call dropped off.
Thank you for calling back, David. So just let us know what the last end of your thoughts were.
Yeah, what I was coming to was that situation that is happening in the northeastern provinces, the border counties. And you wonder, as you said before, it's the first time that the president has gone there and spent about 4 days. And you can tell from whatever he is speaking, and even in the tone that he's speaking, the broadside promises that he's giving, all this good things that he's known to say, it's just a campaign strategy. And yet the same man goes ahead and lectures Kenya on how it is not campaign season, let development first take the forefront, in the same breath abuses a lot of us and demeans other leaders based on their intellectual capacity. But then you ask yourself, what is it that this man is known for? And one thing that I want to tell Kenyans, even as we head to maybe another election cycle, even after this one, never forget a man's character. We have seen that this man has no track record in fighting for freedoms. At every point in history where this country has been involved in a struggle to advance our freedoms, he has never been at that point. Since 1992, when he was all involved in the other camp, he was on opposed of the Constitution. And how is it that we expect this man to advance the ideals of the Constitution that guide us? You are speaking, right now, speaking against the government is just playing Russian roulette, because you don't know where you'll end up tomorrow. You're seeing all these interviews of people who are giving statements of what has happened to them just by speaking against the government. So the biggest problem that that the government sees is people criticizing the government itself, other than them not doing what is right for the people as per what they promised in their manifesto.
I'll hear you on that.
If I was to score, if I got to score this president, I would give him a meager 2 out of 10. And that is just because I am still alive.
Thanks for your thoughts on that, David. Definitely, it makes part of the conversation. Thanks for calling in this morning. We'll take other calls this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. All right.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from this morning.
My name is Masharia. I'm calling from Nairobi.
Yes, Masharia.
And let me talk to my president directly. Mr. President, it's just a simple task. Mr. President, as long as we recognize that you are a good president and all that you're saying is true, you ran it and all that, and that's why we've been trusted a lot on you as our president. Mr. President, with all the PhD you hold and all that we have entrusted you and what you're saying in the public podium, we know that with that, your leadership holds power to restore and inspire confidence in the government, listening to people, engage them meaningfully and address their concerns. Mr. President, Kenya's future depends on the leadership you provide for the next 5 or whichever years you're going to lead this country. Prioritize the people of Kenya, and I trust that if you consider listening to people and just addressing the main issues that are concerning us and hitting us hard, the cost of living, unemployment, economic hardships, and taking just some time to consider the ordinary Kenyans and the young people, the suffering they are talking about, the abductions and all that. Please consider your people, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, Masharia. Definitely speaking directly to that. We'll take more calls this morning. 0719012600. Hello, good morning. Hello. Still taking your calls this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, tell us your name and where you're calling from, and if you don't mind, turn down the volume on your TV or radio.
Hello, you speaking to Roy?
Yes, Roy.
I'm calling from Eldoret.
Roy, would you turn down the volume on your radio, please?
Okay, just a second. Okay, someone once said, if you want to know the real character of a man, give him power and money. So all through this has been displayed and as it has come true. So speaking about corruption, let's be honest with every Kenyan. Like, we want to stop corruption. It begins with me and you. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, if you're in a specific state, like your court is done wrong, but you're given the chance, choose you to go to court or for you to follow the right procedure. Most of us Kenyans will say, no, why don't I see you sideways and give you something small so that this thing is settled? That is corruption. When you want to send your kid to do something and you like give this kid a tip for them to do this thing that you're asking them to do, this is corruption. It's a culture that we have trained it from the model up down. Now it's up here. So there's so much blame. Oh, the president is corrupt and there's so much corruption. There's this and this and this going on. We are forgetting this thing it's between me and you. We have to solve this thing from the grassroots and deal with it so that when we elect a president and we expect the president to follow a culture, there's a culture that we already set it there.
Okay, so Roy, what I hear you saying essentially is that it's not just on the president, but it's on every single Kenyan to make sure that, get our ducks in a row.
Correct. That is my point.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Okay, so Roy's dropped off. Let's take some more calls this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello. Every single Kenyan to make sure that people get off. All right, still taking your calls. Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning. I'm calling from Bomet. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. We can hear you.
Yes, I'm calling from Bomet.
Yes.
I'm Bernard.
Yes, Bernard.
Yes, I want to address this issue of corruption. And I don't know what is the concept of corruption. When it comes to maybe calling people to ACC, why don't we make somebody prior to the call so that somebody can respond? Hello?
Yes, Bernard, we can hear you.
Yes. Can the president address this issue strictly on corruption? What do we divide corruption, in other words? Is corruption being addressed in such a way that you ambush somebody to come address the issue? Or you are supposed to call somebody who has done wrong or corrupt in a swift manner? Are you hearing me?
So we can hear you, Bernard. So are you essentially saying that one of the things that the president must do is actually deal with the issue of corruption?
Yes.
All right. Getting your thoughts this morning. Thanks so much for calling in, Bernard. Let's hear from some other folks this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Ezekiel.
Yes,
I'm calling from Nairobi.
Okay, Ezekiel.
I want to speak to the president.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to tell the president that if he wants the people to be satisfied, let him focus on the service delivery. If it is about SHA, let the SHA provide services to the people and not go answering to the people. Let them deliver the services to the people, and the people will, for themselves, will see that the services are being delivered and they will be satisfied, Mr. President.
We hear you on
if
that.
It is about, if it is about education, let it deliver it on the education. And the services that will be offered in education, you will people will see the services and they will feel the services, Mr. President. Don't just go answering to the people. Deliver the services to the people. So and the people will see for themselves.
Yeah, people will see for themselves. So do more, say less, essentially. Thank you very much for that call, Ezekiel. Thanks for sharing your comments with us this morning. All right. So, I mean, this is where we are, folks, isn't it? That folks have a lot to say. But one thing that is, do more and speak less. Just a few more of those comments on socials this morning, that we hope that the president will listen. Kenya is ranked top 5 most expensive power tariffs in Africa. We have geothermal. We have a serious problem. How do we industrialize without fair power prices? That's one that's going to address that issue. There are many factors taken into consideration. My take, we can see that you've come through some trauma dealing with some of the issues that we discussed this morning. And, that brings us to, roundabout the time where we say, okay, well, thanks for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this week. And even as we do talk about some things that need to be delivered, there is a platform where, 1 million people get into the market, but they're being helped every month.
I hope you noticed that I'm in a suit today.
I did notice.
Yes, that's because I'm going for a board meeting.
And you have been handsome for 40 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, why do I start there? I remember when I was a youth, 18 out of school, wondering how I would ever get to such a position. Back then, there was no KCB to Judiciary. I wish there was.
Yeah.
Because they give you the training you need from whether you've got a high school degree, a class 8 dropout. They give you the education you need to start your career. And not only education, they then give you an opportunity to be incubated like an egg. The KCB is the mother hen. You hatch as a complete biashara, right? And then they give you a vaccine. Abi?
Yes.
Good. They give you a vaccine to make sure you've got the capital, you've got the branding, you've got the marketing, you've got the accounting right. Now, what else would you need to do other than go to KCB Group/Foundation and see if you can sign up?
There you have it. And that's it. And those are the kind of things that we talk about towards solutions and towards making things better. Dear Mr. President has been successful this morning due to you. And these are some of the things that you join us with conversations every week on Kenya's Biggest Conversation. Thanks for hanging out with us this week, and not just hanging, but being involved in the conversations as we push on the very important ones in country, in the region, and indeed around the world. Have a wonderful weekend, and God willing, we'll be back here Monday morning at 6 a.m. to continue Kenya's biggest conversation. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.